Chapter 1372. Lu Ming speculated that the prodigy controlled by the Southern Divine Palace was Long Chen. Firstly, Long Chen had fallen into the hands of the Wang family and happened to have the Chaos Origin token. Secondly, the Chaos Origin token wasn't that easy to obtain. Lu Ming estimated that in the entire Divine Ruins continent group, only he and Long Chen had the Chaos Origin token. Previously, he had learned from 2E of the Chaos Palace that the Chaos Origin token depended on one's potential. In the War of Providence, some people's cultivation might far exceed Lu Ming's cultivation, but they might not be able to obtain the Chaos Origin token. Only those who were determined to have great potential could obtain the Chaos Origin token. Through these 2 points, Lu Ming speculated that the prodigy was definitely Long Chen. And the Wang family had used some methods, such as soul searching, to find out from Long Chen that Lu Ming also had a Chaos Origin token. But there was one thing that Lu Ming couldn't figure out. For example, if the Wang family or the other experts of the Southern Divine Palace knew from Long Chen that Lu Ming also had a Chaos Origin token, shouldn't they secretly send experts to capture Lu Ming? How could they spread the news so that all the continents in the Divine Ruins continent group knew about it? This didn't make sense. Boom! At this moment, a powerful aura came crashing down from the sky. The Dragon Emperor city was enveloped by a powerful pressure. Boom! Boom! As soon as this pressure rose, several other pressures erupted and filled the sky above the Dragon Emperor city. At this moment, everyone in the Dragon Emperor city felt like they were being crushed by Mount Tai and a disaster was imminent. Lu Ming, get out here! Lu Ming, get out here! A few loud roars like thunder exploded in the sky above the Dragon Emperor city, causing many people's eardrums to vibrate and they almost vomited blood. Good timing. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he stepped out and stomped on the skinny old man's dantian. Boom! The berserk power directly pierced through the skinny old man's dantian and scattered the old man's spiritual deity. The old man's eyes bulged as he roared, You didn't keep your word, Lu Ming sneered, I didn't say I wouldn't kill you. Also, you killed your way to the Divine Wilderness continent to steal my primordial chaos token. Do you think I won't kill you? How naive. With the eruption of power, the skinny old man was torn apart. Then, Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared in the sky. Whoosh! Whoosh! With the sound of something breaking through the air, 5 figures appeared beside Lu Ming. Other than Xiaofan, there were 4 other rulers. In Dragon Emperor City, besides Lu Ming, there were 4 other emperors guarding it. The moment Lu Ming appeared in the sky, he had seen some figures standing around Dragon Emperor City. I am Lu Ming. Lu Ming's voice came from afar. Whoosh! Whoosh! With a flicker, the figures around Dragon Emperor City appeared around Lu Ming and the others, surrounding Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, I am the Sacred Sky Emperor of the Zhoning continent. Hand over your primordial chaos token. A burly man with golden hair stared at Lu Ming with a wild aura. The primordial chaos token is mine. I am the ruler of Shuayu from the fluttering snow continent. A beautiful woman in white stared coldly at Lu Ming. These 2 people were both peak 2nd layer martial emperors. They were very powerful. Those who dared to cross the vast distance and come to the Divine Wilderness continent to participate in this battle were the top experts of their respective continents. The weakest of them was a 2nd layer martial emperor. Even the 1st layer martial emperors did not dare to come. They knew that even if they obtained the primordial chaos token, they would not be able to enjoy it. Fluttering snow continent, Zhoning continent, get lost. A burly man in armor shouted coldly. His aura was extremely shocking. He was a 3rd layer martial emperor. Fighting against the continents, the ruler of Shuayu and the Sacred Sky Emperor wore stern looks. This 3rd layer martial emperor was from the fighting against the continent. The fighting against the continent was ranked in the top 10 among the continents of the Divine Ruins. Apart from these three, there were three others with a cultivation of the second-layer martial emperor. One of them was the old man in a green robe, who surrounded Lu Ming and his crew while glaring at them. "Lu Ming, give me your primordial chaos token and I'll spare your life." The emperor of the fighting against the continent stared at Lu Ming coldly. "Hee, it seems like you don't know anything about the primordial chaos token." The primordial chaos token was acquired during the Battle of Luck. "It has already merged with my body. Even if you have it, you won't be able to use it." Lu Ming said with a smile. "Won't be able to use it? That's easy. I just need to cripple you and bring you along. I can still enter the Divine Ruins and obtain the treasures inside." The emperor of the fighting against the continent said with a hideous grin. "Is that so? Why are you so confident? Have you ever thought that you'll lose your life here?" Lu Ming remained calm, but behind his calm expression, there was a cold murderous intent. Ha, lose my life here? What kind of expert can you find in the divine wilderness? What can you do to me? The emperor of the fighting against the continent burst into laughter. "Oh. If that's the case, die." Lu Ming shouted and suddenly attacked. The chaotic intent realm lingered around him as the dragon-veined sword appeared in his hand and slashed at the emperor of the fighting against the continent. The terrifying power caused the emperor of the fighting against the continent to turn pale. "Block it." The emperor of the fighting against the continent took out a halberd and slashed it down with all his might. He was a third-layer martial emperor. Even an ordinary second-layer martial emperor would be killed by his full-powered attack. However, when Lu Ming's dragon-veined sword landed on the halberd vibrated violently and exploded with a bang. The emperor of the fighting against the continent trembled violently and spat out blood as he retreated. How is this possible? The emperor of the fighting against the continent yelled in disbelief. He was a third-layer martial emperor, while Lu Ming was only a 9-heaven supreme. Although it was unbelievable that he had reached the 9-heaven supreme realm at such a young age, he was still a 9-heaven supreme. How could his strength be so powerful that he could severely injure the emperor of the fighting against the continent? Kill! Lu Ming stepped out. His combat sword cut through the void and slashed toward the emperor of the continent who was fighting the same battle. The emperor of the fighting against the continent tried to dodge the attack, but he suddenly discovered that his surroundings were surrounded by dozens of formations that were designed to trap the enemy. Puff! The dragon-veined sword slashed the emperor of the fighting against the continent in half. This, on the side, the Sacred Sky Dominator, the Snowdrift Dominator, and the others were dumbfounded. Their eyes were wide open. Everything happened too quickly. Lu Ming had just made 2 moves and a LV3 Martial Emperor expert, whom they were extremely wary of, was killed in just 1 move. He thought he was dreaming. Kill! Lu Ming swung his sword and slashed a second-layer Martial Emperor into pieces. Run, run! The rest of the cultivators fled in all directions in terror. Kill! Xiaofan made his move and drew out his demonic saber. A second-layer Martial Emperor expert was slashed in half by the demonic saber. On the other hand, Lu Ming took a step forward and appeared behind the Snowdrift Emperor, slashing at him with his battle sword. The Snowdrift Emperor tried his best to defend himself, but it was useless. The slash shattered everything in its path. Chapter 1373. 5 sovereigns had come, including a LV3 Martial Royal Realm expert, but they had all been killed in an instant. Only the Sacred Sky Emperor was left. The Sacred Sky Emperor felt a chill run down his spine. In his opinion, even if there were experts in the Divine Wilderness continent, a LV2 Martial Royal Realm expert would be the limit. With his peak LV2 Martial Royal Realm cultivation, he could roam the Divine Wilderness unhindered. But now, he realized that the divine wilderness continent was a tiger's den. It was a hell on earth. Spare me. The sacred Sky Emperor begged for mercy. I've said that since you're here to steal my Chaos Origin token, you should be prepared to be killed. Do you really think that the divine wilderness continent is your backyard and that I, Lu Ming, can be easily bullied by you? Lu Ming's cold voice sounded as he appeared behind the sacred Sky Emperor and slashed down with the dragon vein sword. The sacred Sky Emperor was filled with regret and hatred. He tried his best to resist, but the result could not be changed. Puff! The sacred Sky Emperor was killed in the air. The 5 sovereigns who had come to attack were all dead. Lu Ming, give the order to gather all the sovereigns to guard the Dragon Emperor city. I'm afraid there will be more experts coming. Xiaofan suggested. No. Lu Ming waved his hand and said, passively defending will only be endless. Now, we need to take the initiative to attack and scare them. Spread the news to all parts of the divine wilderness continent. Tell the experts of the other continents not to resist. Tell them that I, Lu Ming, am at the Fallen Emperor Mountain. You want to be at the Fallen Emperor Mountain? Xiaofan raised his eyebrows and said. That's right. Fall Emperor Mountain, kill all the sovereigns. Lu Ming said. Do you need our help? Xiaofan said. He could not help but admire Lu Ming's decisiveness. No need. Senior Xia, you'll guard the Dragon Emperor city. Lu Ming said. After that, Lu Ming stepped out and headed toward the Fallen Emperor Mountain. The Fallen Emperor Mountain was not far from the Dragon Emperor city. It was only 10 million miles away and was a giant peak that rose into the sky. Legend had it that an sovereign had fallen here a long time ago, which was why it was called the Fallen Emperor Mountain. A short while later, Lu Ming appeared at the top of the Fallen Emperor Mountain. He sat down cross-legged and waited quietly. The Dragon Emperor city also spread the news to every corner of the divine wilderness continent, saying that Lu Ming was at the Fallen Emperor Mountain. As time passed, more and more experts from other continents came to the divine wilderness. Lu Ming is at the Fallen Emperor Mountain. Let's go to the Fallen Emperor Mountain. I want to be the first to obtain the primordial chaos token. One figure after another headed for the Fallen Emperor Mountain. At the border of the northern plains, the sky rumbled. A huge cross-sea flying ship broke through the wind and waves, appearing on the coastline. Whoosh! 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 3 figures appeared in the cross-sea spaceship. Each of them had a majestic aura. Among the 3 figures, 2 were at the peak of the second-layer martial dominator realm, while the one in the middle was even more terrifying, having reached the peak of the third-layer martial dominator realm. This person had long green hair and looked to be in his 40s. In the distance, a beam of light flashed as a middle-aged man appeared before the 3 figures. He bowed to the middle-aged man and said, Second Master, I've found out that Lu Ming is cultivating in seclusion at the Fallen Emperor Mountain. Oh? Got it. The green-haired middle-aged man nodded and sneered. This Lu Ming is really audacious. He even dared to kill the young master of the sea suppressing Marshal's residence. This time, Big Brother sent me here to kill Lu Ming and avenge my 2 nephews. At the same time, I can seize the primordial chaos token. I'll do my best. The others on the side immediately said. Alright, let's go. The middle-aged man took the lead and left. At the Fallen Emperor Mountain, Lu Ming sat with his legs crossed and casually scanned his surroundings. Around the Fallen Emperor Mountain, 7 or 8 experts had appeared. They were all experts from different continents, and each of them was a second-layer martial dominator realm expert. This force was extremely shocking. However, these people had yet to make their move, not because they were afraid of Lu Ming, but because they were wary of one another. The primordial chaos token is mine, I was the first to arrive. Ridiculous, you're the first to arrive, so it's yours? Bullshit. Are you trying to oppose the fallen Emperor continent? Voices could be heard as the powerful martial emperors unleashed their auras and stood in the air, facing one another. 2 more experts from the fallen Emperor continent had arrived, one third-layer martial dominator realm and the other peak second-layer martial dominator realm. As expected of one of the top 10 continents in the Godly Ruins continent. As the experts faced one another, none of them dared to make their move. Lu Ming wore a faint smile, but he did not break the balance. Now was not the time to make his move. It would not be too late for him to make his move when more people arrived. As time gradually passed, more martial emperors arrived. Behind them, there were 16 martial emperors. Even the White Feather continent, which was ranked 4th in the Godly Ruins continent group, had sent a few of them. Whoosh! 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 Suddenly, 4 figures flew toward them from the distance. The one leading them was the blue-haired middle-aged man. The southern sacred palace of the Godly Ruins continent is here for the season-suppressing marshal's residence. Those who have no business here, back off. Someone beside the blue-haired middle-aged man yelled. The others were startled. What? Even the southern sacred palace is here. Doesn't the southern sacred palace have a primordial chaos token? Why are they involved? The others blurted out with stern looks. The strength of the Godly Ruins continent was too overwhelming. It had surpassed the strength of the other continents. However, it was impossible for them to give up just like that. The season-suppressing marshal's residents shouldn't try to oppress us. There are so many of us here, we're not afraid of you. That's right, if the season-suppressing marshal were here, we might be a little intimidated, but there's no way we're backing off. The others blurted out. Those who had arrived were the peak experts of the other continents. Even though the blue-haired middle-aged man's cultivation was strong, he was only a peak third-layer martial dominator realm cultivator. His presence was not enough to scare these experts. Humph, how reckless. Are you trying to oppose the season-suppressing marshal's residence and the southern sacred palace? The eyes of the blue-haired middle-aged man flickered coldly as he snapped. However, the others sneered and none of them backed off. Most of the experts from the southern continents of the Godly Ruins continent had gathered here. With so many experts gathered here, why would they be afraid of the season-suppressing marshal's residence? At most, they would hide after obtaining the primordial chaos token. What could the experts of the southern sacred palace do to them? The blue-haired middle-aged man's face darkened. Everyone present was an expert. There were more than 5 third-layer martial dominators. Although none of them were at the peak of the third-layer martial dominator realm, the blue-haired middle-aged man was still wary of them. Finally, it's about time. At this moment, Lu Ming said calmly on the fallen Emperor Mountain. The emperors immediately looked at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, how dare you kill the people of the season-suppressing marshal's residence? Hand over the primordial chaos token and come with me to the season-suppressing marshal's residence to receive your punishment. The blue-haired middle-aged man yelled. Hai Tian and Hai Yu, those 2 pieces of trash. If you want to take revenge, then do it. Chapter 1374. You're courting death. The blue-haired middle-aged man shouted with a gloomy face. Everyone, as you can see, Lu Ming has a feud with the Sea Conqueror's mansion. My elder brother's 2 sons died in Lu Ming's hands. The Sea Conqueror's mansion is bent on getting Lu Ming. The blue-haired middle-aged man scanned the crowd. He was worried about the experts from other continents. As for Lu Ming, he did not care about him at all. I have no objection if you want Lu Ming. Just leave the Chaos Origin token behind. That's right. Take him away and leave the Chaos Origin token behind. The other sovereign said. Humph. The blue-haired middle-aged man snorted. He wanted to kill Lu Ming, but his main target was the Chaos Origin token. Are you done talking nonsense? Lu Ming stood up and a cold killing intent rose from his body. He said, "Do you know why this place is called the Fallen Emperor Mountain?" The crowd looked at Lu Ming again. "That's because some sovereigns have fallen here. That's why I chose this place to be your burial ground." Lu Ming's cold voice spread in all directions. "What? Arrogant. You want to kill us? What a joke. Don't attack. Let me kill him first." Hearing Lu Ming's words, the other sovereigns were enraged. "Kill." At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly roared and attacked. He shot up into the sky and rushed toward the sovereigns who were at LV2 Martial Royal Realm. Roar roar roar, dragon roars were heard as the 9 dragon forces burst out. At the same time, the third bloodline appeared and a force flowed into Lu Ming's body. Then, the chaotic domain covered his body. Clang! He slashed out with the dragon vein sword. At this moment, Lu Ming had used all his strength. No one expected that Lu Ming would dare to make a move when he was besieged by more than 20 emperors. Moreover, these sovereigns were all at LV2 Martial Royal Realm and above. How terrifying was this force! Therefore, when Lu Ming made his move, they were subconsciously taken aback. Puff! 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 With a sweep of the dragon vein sword, the 3 emperors of LV2 Martial Royal Realm were cut in half. The sword chi burst out and crushed their spiritual deities. In an instant, 3 people were killed. When Lu Ming attacked, the space between his eyebrows glowed. His second body stepped out and waved his hand. 5 phoenix feather flying swords shot out rapidly, and the cries of phoenixes shook the sky. 5 cries of agony were heard as 5 second-layer martial dominators were penetrated by the phoenix feather flying swords, shattering their spiritual spirits. Lu Ming suddenly launched an attack. His main body and second body attacked at the same time, instantly killing 8 powerhouses. Only then did the others react. "Damn it, how dare you launch a surprise attack? How can he be so strong? Go, crush him." Angry roars rang out one after another. Some people felt their bodies go cold. If Lu Ming had attacked them just now, what would have happened? In an instant, numerous attacks were launched toward the main body and the second body. Whoosh! Lu Ming's main body moved slightly. Like a flickering light and passing shadow, he disappeared from the spot. Puff! Then, a second-layer martial dominator was cut in half by Lu Ming's sword. The air-frozen bead, combined with the wind origin skill, is really fast. Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. Lu Ming controlled the air-frozen bead, and a green energy appeared in his body. Then, he used the wind origin skill. Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. Even the emperors could not catch up with his speed. As for the second body, he took a step forward, and the void was filled with formations. He used the formations to move his body and dodge the attacks. At the same time, he controlled the 5 phoenix feather flying swords and killed another second-layer martial dominator. Then, he waved his hand, and the million formation illustration appeared. Countless large formations appeared and attacked the emperors. The million formation illustration was most suitable for group battles. Countless large formations, all kinds of offensive, defensive, and trapping enemies, caused the many rulers to be in a flurry. With the second body's current strength, even a third-layer martial dominator would be afraid of the million formation illustration. Whoosh! 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 Lu Ming's main body used the wind origin skill, and his body flashed rapidly. Puff! Puff! Blood splattered everywhere. One by one, the emperors were killed. Second Master, help! A second-layer martial dominator from the Sea Conqueror's mansion shouted. However, the green-haired middle-aged man was focused on by the second body. Countless large formations poured down on him, and 3 of the 5 phoenix feather flying swords stabbed at him. He could barely protect himself, and he did not have the strength to save others. Puff! The emperors of the Sea Conqueror's mansion were easily killed by Lu Ming. Given Lu Ming's current combat ability, with the coordination of his main body and secondary body, killing a second-level martial emperor was as easy as chopping vegetables. Furthermore, most of these people didn't have emperor spirit weapons. In the blink of an eye, there were only 5 martial dominators left. 5 LV3 martial emperor realm experts. The other second-layer martial dominators were all killed. Fall back, fall back. This man is a monster, an Asura, a demon. A few third-layer martial dominators yelled. They were scared out of their wits. Lu Ming was unbelievably strong. There were more than 20 of them. If they joined forces, even a 4th-layer martial dominator would have to retreat. However, almost all of them were killed by Lu Ming. This did not mean that Lu Ming's strength was stronger than a 4th-layer martial dominator. It was that the combination of Lu Ming's main body and his second body was too perfect, especially in a group battle. The second body activated the Million Formations illustration to trap, disturb, and attack the enemies with a wide range of attacks. No matter how many enemies there were, they could be trapped. Besides, the second body had a powerful attack. Coupled with the coordinated attacks of the main body, the other party's advantage in numbers had yet to be unleashed. Lu Ming's thunderous attacks had already scattered them into pieces. Buzz! At this moment, Lu Ming performed the bloodline merge and turned into the spirit-suppressing steel, suppressing a 3rd-layer martial dominator. Bang! The 3rd-layer martial dominator spat out mouthfuls of blood as half of his body exploded. Following this, the dragon vein sword slashed forward and killed the man. Following this, the spirit-suppressing steel came crashing down once again. The others wanted to escape, but what awaited them was a boundless grand formation. If they wanted to break through the grand formation, they would have to spend some time. But that time was fatal. Bang! The spirit-suppressing steel was like a death steel, covered in a chaotic domain. Ordinary 3rd-layer martial dominators could not resist it at all. They would be severely injured if not killed. Damn it, I'm going to run away, run away. Seeing the other experts being killed by Lu Ming one after another, the blue-haired middle-aged man panicked and tried to escape. However, the second body was staring at him. There was no way he could escape. Whoosh! A formation appeared on the second body's body. A sword intent was fired from the tip of his finger, which almost penetrated the blue-haired middle-aged man's forehead, causing him to break out in cold sweat. Ah ah ah! Cries of agony could be heard, before they fell silent. The other 3rd-layer martial dominators were all killed by Lu Ming. Chapter 1375. The green-haired middle-aged man's heart turned cold from head to toe. Never in his wildest dreams did he think that such a situation would occur when he was only here to kill a young junior. Now, it's your turn. Go down and accompany your 2 nephews. The suppressing hell steel flew towards the green-haired middle-aged man as Lu Ming's cold voice resounded. Lu Ming, I am the second brother of the sea-suppressing general. If you dare to kill me, the entire divine wilderness continent will be buried with me. The green-haired middle-aged man roared and threatened. I have already killed Hai Tian and Hai Yu. You won't make a difference. Lu Ming sneered. You. Let me tell you, I am not only a member of the sea-suppressing general's residence, I am also an elder of the Southern Divine Palace. If you kill me, you will be going against the Southern Divine Palace. The green-haired middle-aged man continued to roar. Seeing that the sea-suppressing general's residence was not going to work, he brought up the Southern Divine Palace. Southern Divine Palace? I will make a trip there sooner or later. Lu Ming's voice was still as cold as a knife. The green-haired middle-aged man panicked. Lu Ming was not threatened at all. He was extremely daring. He had never met such a person before. He was at a loss. Swoosh! As he panicked, a phoenix feather flying sword flew past his neck, leaving behind a trail of blood and almost chopping off his head. The green-haired middle-aged man shuddered. Lu Ming, I beg you to spare me. As long as you let me go, I will go back and plead for you in front of my big brother. The green-haired middle-aged man started to beg for mercy. Ridiculous! Lu Ming sneered. Let me go. I beg you. As long as you let me go, I will do anything for you and be your slave. The green-haired middle-aged man became more and more afraid. In the end, he did not care about his face and begged. He did not look like a high and mighty emperor at all. Emperors were also humans. They were just people who had great power. They also had emotions and were afraid of death. Especially emperors, they were more afraid of death than ordinary people. They had great power and could destroy the heavens and earth. They had a long lifespan and could live freely in the world. Therefore, they were even more afraid of death. Clearly, the blue-haired middle-aged man was such a person. When he was stronger than others, he was high and mighty, looking down on others as ants. However, when he was faced with the threat of death, he would often behave even worse than an ordinary person. Kill. Lu Ming was unmoved. He spoke coldly as the prison-suppressing steel pressed down. At the same time, his second body attacked as well. There was no suspense in the outcome. Although the blue-haired middle-aged man's cultivation had reached the peak third-layer martial dominator realm, how could he possibly stand a chance against the combined strength of Lu Ming's main body and his second body? Not long after, the blue-haired middle-aged man was killed by Lu Ming with unwillingness. At this point, over 22nd-layer martial dominator realm experts had been slain by Lu Ming. Plus the 5 people who were killed by Lu Ming in Dragon Emperor City, these 20-odd powerhouses were the top powerhouses of all the continents in the south of the continent of God's ruins. In this battle, the top powerhouses of these continents had suffered great losses, resulting in a period of emptiness. The power structure of these continents would change tremendously, resulting in a great battle between the factions. That being said, Lu Ming was too lazy to care about any of this. With a wave of his hand, over 20 storage rings were collected by Lu Ming. In addition to that, the corpses of the martial dominators were stored in the mountain and river pattern. These were all martial dominators. Both their blood and essence were priceless treasures. They would be of great help if given to Xiaofan and the others. After putting the storage rings away, Lu Ming headed for the Dragon Emperor City. Outside the Dragon Emperor City, more than 10 figures were waiting anxiously. Xian Yinqing, Xiaofan, Xia Jiuyang, and the others. They were all the authorities of the Dragon Alliance. Although they were aware of Lu Ming's outstanding strength and his ability to create miracles, they could not help but feel worried as they were facing experts from other continents. Lu Ming. All of a sudden, Xian Yinqing's eyes lit up as he looked forward. A rainbow light flashed, and Lu Ming's figure appeared. Lu Ming, are you all right? Xian Yinqing hurriedly went forward, his face full of worry. During this period of time, Xian Yinqing had been in seclusion, trying to break through to the supreme stage. However, when he heard the news, he immediately came out of seclusion. I'm fine. Lu Ming smiled. Alliance leader, how are the powerhouses of the other continents? Xiaofan asked. The others also looked at Lu Ming curiously. Lu Ming smiled and waved his hand. The corpses of the martial dominators, whether complete or incomplete, all appeared in the air, emitting shocking fluctuations. Even after death, the fluctuations emitted by the martial dominators were still shocking. This is... Xiaofan, Xia Jiuyang, and the other martial dominators were all petrified. These martial dominators had only died recently. They could clearly sense their cultivations from the corpses. They were all second-layer martial dominators and above. There were 5 third-layer martial dominators. So many experts were dead. It was obvious that they had been killed by Lu Ming. They could feel their hearts shuddering as they inhaled deeply. At the same time, Lu Ming was becoming more and more mysterious in their hearts. Keep these corpses. I'll leave it to you to decide how to use them. Lu Ming said. Xiaofan and the others used a storage ring to store the corpses of the martial dominators. By the way, I'll keep the ones that are useful to me. As for those that aren't, I'll leave them to you and store them in the vault. You'll be rewarded according to your contributions in the future. Lu Ming said. Xiaofan and the others nodded. Following this, they excused themselves and left. Only Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were left in the sky. Lu Ming, what are you going to do next? Xian Yanqing asked all of a sudden. Shao Qing, I can't hide it from you. Lu Ming let out a smile as he held Xian Yanqing's hand and gazed deep into the Dragon Emperor city. Even though the southern continents of the Godly Ruins continent suffered great losses, it won't end here. There are still experts from the 4 great celestial palaces of the Divine Ruins, as well as experts from the western, northern, and eastern continents of the Divine Ruins. These experts will also rush over. If I continue to stay in the Divine Wilderness, it will be a disaster for the Divine Wilderness. Lu Ming said in a solemn tone. Currently, the strongest cultivator was only a peak third-layer martial dominator. If a 4th-layer martial dominator were to show up, how was Lu Ming going to deal with them? A 4th-layer martial dominator was significantly stronger than a 3rd-layer martial dominator. Even though it was not too difficult for Lu Ming to kill an ordinary peak 3rd-layer martial dominator with the help of his 2 bodies, he was still no match against a 4th-layer martial dominator. If a 4th-layer martial dominator were to show up at the Godly Desolation continent, the Dragon Alliance, the Dragon Emperor city, or even the entire Godly Desolation continent would be in trouble. That was not what Lu Ming wanted to see. Lu Ming, are you planning to leave the Godly Desolation continent? To the Godly Ruins continent? Chapter 1376. That's right. As long as I go to the Godly Ruins continent and show myself there, everyone will gather there. Lu Ming said. After all, those people's target was Lu Ming and the Chaos Origin token, not the Godly Ruins continent. As long as Lu Ming showed himself in the Godly Ruins continent, those who wanted the Chaos Origin token would not come to the Godly Ruins continent. This way, the Dragon Alliance and Lu Ming's friends and family would be safe. That was Lu Ming's plan. This plan could be said to be very bold and dangerous. Lu Ming, I'll go with you. Xian Yanqing held Lu Ming's hand tightly as he stared into Lu Ming's eyes. All right. Lu Ming nodded after thinking for a while. Xian Yanqing's smile was peerless. There was no time to lose. The next day, Lu Ming gathered the higher-ups of the Dragon Alliance and announced his plan. At first, Xiaofan, Xia Jiuyang and the others were against it. However, since Lu Ming had made up his mind, there was nothing they could do. After the meeting, Lu Ming and Xiaofan sat opposite each other in the backyard of the Dragon Alliance. Senior Xia, I don't know when Lu Ming will be back. I'll leave the Dragon Alliance to you for the time being. Lu Ming said. Why do you say that? Xiaofan was stunned. There's less than a year left before the date with the Divine Dragon Valley. I'm afraid it'll take a year to get to the Godly Ruins continent. When the messenger of the Divine Dragon Valley arrives, we'll have to leave for the Yuanlu. Lu Ming explained. Xiaofan fell silent. After a while, he said, Don't worry, Alliance leader. As long as I'm around, I'll ensure the safety of the Dragon Alliance and your family. Thank you, Senior. Lu Ming smiled and said, I'll never forget what I promised you. After I've gained a foothold in the Yuanlu, I'll recommend you to join the Yuanlu sect. Thank you. Xiaofan solemnly raised his glass to Lu Ming. After that, Lu Ming went to have dinner with Lu Yuntian and Li Ping. The next day, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing officially set off for the Godly Ruins continent. In northern plains, in the boundless ocean, Lu Ming looked at the distant divine wilderness continent with a complicated look in his eyes. Who knew how long it would take for him to return? Xian Yanqing stood quietly beside Lu Ming and did not speak. Xiaoqing, let's go. After a long while, Lu Ming smiled, took Xian Yanqing's small hand, turned around, and left. This time, Lu Ming only brought along Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming left Tu Qian in the Lu family to guard the Lu family. After flying for a while, Xian Yanqing entered the mountains and rivers to cultivate, while Lu Ming began to travel at full speed. He had to reach the Godly Ruins continent as soon as possible. Lu Ming tore the space with all his strength and traveled at an astonishing speed. Traveling at full speed consumed a lot of energy. Even with Lu Ming's current True Yuan strength, he could not last for long. However, Lu Ming had a second body. When the main body's True Yuan ran out, the main body would enter the mountain and river diagram to recover while the second body would continue to travel. Lu Ming's current speed was slightly faster than that of an ordinary third-level martial emperor. He traveled day and night without stopping. Within a few days, the Divine Ruins continent was already in sight. Previously, riding on Lei Shi Supreme, it took him several months. But now, traveling at full speed, his speed was dozens of times faster than Lei Shi Supreme. Godly Ruins continent, I'm back. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he rushed towards the Godly Ruins continent. After arriving at the Godly Ruins continent, Lu Ming found a place to devour origin stones and recover his cultivation to the peak. See suppressing Marshal's residence, I'll start with you. Lu Ming murmured as he tore the space apart and left. It was easy to let the Godly Ruins continent know that Lu Ming had come to the Godly Ruins continent in a short period of time. Lu Ming was the first to set his eyes on the sea-suppressing Marshal's residence. Not long after, Lu Ming arrived at the sea-suppressing Marshal's residence. The sea-suppressing Marshal's residence was located at the center of a huge ancient city. It was surrounded by palaces. Bang! Lu Ming appeared above the ancient city and unleashed his aura without concealing it. A terrifying pressure encapsulated the entire ancient city. What's going on? Provocation, this is provocation. How powerful, is he a Nine-Heaven Supreme? How could a Nine-Heaven Supreme have such a powerful aura? The entire ancient city was immersed in an uproar. Who's there? How dare you provoke the sea-suppressing Marshal's residence, die? How bold! At the center of the ancient city, terrifying auras burst out from the endless palaces. They were all auras of martial emperors. Lu Ming scanned the place with his divine sense and discovered more than 20 auras of martial emperors. Lu Ming exclaimed in his heart. The Godly Ruins continent was indeed powerful. This was only the sea-suppressing Marshal's residence under the Southern God Palace, but there were already more than 20 martial emperors here. The Godly Desolation continent was nothing compared to it. Whoosh! 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 Following this, several figures sprang into the sky and surrounded Lu Ming. There were 9 figures in total, 9 martial emperors. Among them, 2 were second-layer martial emperors, while the other 7 were first-layer martial emperors. The sea-suppressing Marshal's residence would not send out all of its experts just because of a single person. Where's Hai Pengtian? Ask him to come out and die. Lu Ming yelled. Hai Pengtian was the name of the sea-suppressing Marshal. How bold, die. How dare you provoke the Marshal, kill him. The martial emperors surrounding Lu Ming yelled. A few of them attacked Lu Ming. Boom! 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 Lu Ming threw out 3 punches in a row, followed by 3 cries of agony. 3 first-layer martial emperors were blasted into pieces by Lu Ming. The other martial emperors were shocked and glared at Lu Ming. They did not expect Lu Ming to be so daring. He actually dared to make a move in the residence of the Sea Conqueror. Moreover, he was so ruthless that he killed 3 emperors in one go. They were sovereigns. Even in the Southern God Palace, they were high and mighty figures. But now, 3 of them had died in an instant. Kill. Lu Ming cast the Wind Essence skill and charged toward the remaining 5 sovereigns in a flash. Lu Ming's fist force destroyed all the martial emperors, regardless of whether they were second-layer or first-layer martial emperors. After 5 punches, the remaining 5 martial emperors were all killed. In the ancient city, the martial artists who witnessed this gasped in astonishment. Where did this fiend come from? He is so young, but his combat strength is unbelievably strong. He can kill martial emperors as if they were dogs. Boom! Boom! At that moment, the entire ancient city shook. A few earth-shattering auras burst out from the center of the palace. Then, a few figures appeared in front of Lu Ming. Their cold killing intent almost froze the world. The marshal is here!" someone exclaimed. The leader had a head of green hair, which was similar to the green-haired middle-aged man who had attacked the divine region. He was Hai Pengtian, the sea-suppressing marshal. Hai Pengtian's aura was earth-shattering, as if he was the ruler of the world. 4th-layer martial emperor. Chapter 1377. Hai Pengtian's LV4 martial royal realm aura was released and Lu Ming felt a great pressure. Behind Hai Pengtian were 2 old men with LV3 martial royal realm cultivation. Whoosh! Whoosh! At that moment, a few figures rushed out from below and stood behind Hai Pengtian. There were more than 10 of them and they were all martial emperors. Those who were not martial emperors did not dare to come up. Their auras alone were enough to suffocate martial emperors. Who are you? How dare you come to the Sea Conqueror's residence? Who sent you? Hai Pengtian stared coldly at Lu Ming and did not attack immediately. In the godly ruins mainland, not many forces would dare to come here. The Sea Conqueror's residence belonged to the Southern Divine Palace. In the godly ruins mainland, only the other 3 divine palaces would dare to do so. Hence, Hai Pengtian was a little hesitant and decided to ask about it first. Me? Didn't you send your second brother to catch me? I am Lu Ming. The corners of Lu Ming's lips curled slightly as he spoke. His clear voice spread throughout the entire ancient city and rang in everyone's ears. What? He is Lu Ming. The most powerful person among the younger generation, Lu Ming, who has the chaotic essence token? He came to the godly ruins mainland. The ancient city was in an uproar when they heard this. You are Lu Ming? Hai Pengtian's eyes narrowed and a cold murderous intent flashed in them. That's right. He is Lu Ming. I saw him when the Yuanlu sect was selecting disciples. A voice came out from the ancient city. Apparently, someone had recognized Lu Ming. After receiving confirmation, Hai Pengtian's eyes lit up and he said, My second brother has failed. Lu Ming, I am impressed by your courage. You came to the godly ruins and dared to kill in the Sea Conqueror's residence. Today, you will not leave. Hai Pengtian's aura became stronger and stronger and he was about to attack. Commander, there is no need for you to deal with a kid. I will take him down and avenge the 2 martial emperors. A LV3 martial royal realm elder stepped out from behind Hai Pengtian and bowed. All right. Cripple his cultivation first, but don't kill him. Hai Pengtian instructed. Yes, Marshal, don't worry. The 3rd layer martial emperor realm elder nodded and walked towards Lu Ming. His aura locked onto Lu Ming. This Lu Ming, the second master, went to the Divine Desolate Continent to find him, but he actually hid in the Divine Ruins Continent. However, he is also stupid, to actually come to the Marshal's residence to vent his anger. He probably suffered a lot at the hands of the second master. That's fine, it should be my credit. The thought crossed the third-layer Martial Dominator Realm old man's mind as his face wore a ferocious expression. Whoosh! An iron rod appeared in his hand, and he swung it at Lu Ming. Perfect, kill them one by one. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a cold light. If Hai Pengtian attacked him, it would be troublesome. Now that this old man had volunteered himself, it gave Lu Ming an opportunity. Boom! Lu Ming stepped forward and punched out. Lu Ming's fist collided heavily with the metal rod. All the energy in Lu Ming's body suddenly erupted. The third-layer Martial Dominator Realm old man's expression changed greatly. His eyes were filled with disbelief, as if he had never thought that Lu Ming's strength would be so terrifying. Then, his body staggered backward. Die! Lu Ming executed the Wind Origin technique, and his body instantly appeared in front of the old man and threw out a punch. The old man gathered all his strength on the rod and struck at Lu Ming. However, at that moment, Lu Ming's glabella glowed. Lu Ming's second body stepped forward and waved his hand. The phoenix feather flying swords whizzed out and attacked the old man. It was too sudden, and the old man was caught off guard. The old man was fully focused on Lu Ming. He had never thought that another Lu Ming would appear from Lu Ming's glabella. It was too late for him to dodge. Puff puff puff, the 5 phoenix feather flying swords penetrated the old man's vital points, killing him instantly. Die! After killing the old man, Lu Ming did not stop. He controlled the air-frozen bead, and a stream of green energy flowed into Lu Ming's body. Then, he executed the Wind Origin technique, and his speed was extremely fast. Lu Ming attacked the other emperors. The Dragon Vein Sword appeared and slashed at them. 2 first-layer Martial Dominators were killed by Lu Ming with a single slash. Everything happened too quickly. Only then did Hai Pengtian come to his senses. Most importantly, all of this was beyond his expectations. Lu Ming's aura was clearly that of a supreme being. A third-layer Martial Dominator was killed by a supreme being in an instant. By the time he came to his senses, Lu Ming had already killed 2 more people. You're courting death. Hai Pengtian was furious. He roared and threw a punch at Lu Ming. Hai Pengtian threw out this punch furiously, and its power was astonishing. Whoosh! His second body waved his hand and the million formation illustration appeared. Dozens of defensive formations appeared in an instant to stop Hai Pengtian. However, bang! 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 A series of explosions sounded. These formations collapsed under the force of Hai Pengtian's palm. The strength of a 4th-layer Martial Dominator was too strong. The million formation illustration was a Martial Dominator spiritual weapon. The formations in it would become more powerful as the second body's cultivation increased. With the second body's current strength, these formations would be very useful against a 3rd-layer Martial Dominator. However, they all exploded under Hai Pengtian's palm. The second body's expression changed slightly. He did not want to make a mistake, but he did not want to make a mistake. The spirit fire between his eyebrows lit up and more formations appeared in the million formation illustration. They were all defensive and trapping types. His goal was to stop Hai Pengtian for a while. At the same time, Lu Ming's main body used the Wind Origin skill to kill the other emperors. Whoosh! Whoosh! Lu Ming slashed with the Dragon Vein Sword. No matter if it was a 1st-layer Martial Dominator or a 2nd-layer Martial Dominator, they were all killed with a single slash. In the blink of an eye, several more people died under Lu Ming's sword. Lu Ming's speed was too fast. These people did not even have time to escape. Damn it! Hai Pengtian roared. A pair of golden wings appeared on his back, like the wings of a rock. Of course, these were not real wings, but a martial dominator spiritual weapon. Whoosh! Whoosh! The pair of golden wings swept past like two heavenly swords. The formations activated by the million formation illustration were constantly collapsing. Hai Pengtian quickly attacked the second body. The second body took a few steps forward. Inscription formations appeared in the void to cooperate with the million formation illustration. In the end, the second body even used inscription talisman scrolls. With a wave of his hand, hundreds of inscription talisman scrolls flew out and various kinds of energy poured toward Hai Pengtian. For a moment, Hai Pengtian could not break through the second body's defense. As for the main body, it continued its slaughter. Puff! The dragon vein sword slashed out and killed 2 more people. In the blink of an eye, there was only one emperor left in the void. A third-layer martial dominator. The third-layer martial dominator was scared out of his wits and did not dare to resist. He hid behind Hai Pengtian and escaped death. Chapter 1378. In the ancient city, everyone who witnessed this scene was dumbfounded. The sea-suppressing marshal's residence was in charge of a region, and its reputation was known for its dominance. When had it ever been so miserable? There were more than 20 emperors, and all of them were killed. Even a colossus like the southern god palace would feel the pinch. Hai Pengtian's eyes turned red. Those were his subordinates and they were killed just like that. He knew that he was finished. His position as the sea conqueror had come to an end. Brat, I'm going to cut you into pieces. Hai Pengtian roared. The pair of wings on his back emitted a sharp light. With a sweep of the light, the array set up by the second body was destroyed. Whoosh! He charged towards Lu Ming with extreme speed. Ha, Hai Pengtian, I'm not going to play with you anymore. Let's call it a day. Lu Ming laughed. The second body took a step forward and disappeared into the forehead of the main body. Lu Ming executed the wind origin technique and sped away. Stay here. Hai Pengtian stared at Lu Ming and unleashed his cultivation to the extreme. A pair of wings flapped wildly and destroyed the array in the sky. He then turned into a ray of light and chased after Lu Ming. Ha, Hai Pengtian, I forgot to tell you something. Your second brother has also been killed by me. Lu Ming laughed. The energy of the air-frozen bead entered his body. Lu Ming's speed reached the extreme. In a few moments, he had left Hai Pengtian behind. What? Hai Pengtian felt his chest tighten and he almost spat out blood. He gritted his teeth and controlled his wings to chase after Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming had the help of the air-frozen bead and his speed was faster than Hai Pengtian. The distance between the two of them increased as they flew further and further. In less than an hour, Hai Pengtian could no longer see Lu Ming's shadow. Lu Ming, I will definitely catch you. Hai Pengtian let out an angry roar and reluctantly stopped. A few days later, the news of Lu Ming coming to the continent of divine ruins and killing more than 20 rulers from the sea-suppressing marshal's residence spread like a whirlwind throughout the continent of divine ruins and even to other continents. For a moment, thousands of waves were stirred up. Right now, countless experts were looking for Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was extremely daring and had taken the initiative to come to the godly ruins continent. Moreover, he was extremely high-profile. As soon as he arrived at the continent of divine ruins, he even killed his way to the sea-suppressing marshal's residence and killed more than 20 rulers before retreating calmly. This shocked many people. Many people began to re-evaluate Lu Ming's combat prowess. Some of the weaker emperors began to retreat, but those who were stronger than martial emperors did not give up. In an instant, terrifying experts gathered in the southern region of the Southern Divine Palace in an attempt to capture Lu Ming. Most of these experts were from the Eastern, Northern, and Western Divine Palaces. Whenever Lu Ming appeared somewhere, a large number of experts would rush over. Among them, Hai Pengtian was the most proactive. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. During this month, Lu Ming would occasionally appear and then disappear secretly. His motive was obvious. He wanted to tell the outside world that he, Lu Ming, was in the continent of divine ruins. This way, the experts would not go to the divine wilderness continent to look for him. 10 people were sitting in a meeting hall of the Southern Divine Palace. These 10 people were the clan leaders of the 10 great clans of the Southern Divine Palace. They were also the 10 people with the highest status in the Southern Divine Palace. The 10 of them had gathered to discuss Lu Ming's matter. Everyone, what should the Southern Divine Palace do about Lu Ming's matter? One of them asked. Of course we have to send powerful figures to capture Lu Ming. He still has a primordial chaos token with him. A rather handsome middle-aged man said. This person wore a milky white robe and had a scholarly aura. This person was the clan leader of the Wang clan, one of the 10 great clans. He was Wang Zhen's father, Wang Sheng. That's right, I agree with Brother Wang's suggestion. Send experts to capture Lu Ming. As long as we don't kill him, it's not impossible to destroy his cultivation. Beside Wang Sheng, a person said coldly. This person was the newly promoted clan leader of the Mu clan. The previous clan leader of the Mu clan had joined forces with young Master Lin of the Celestial God sect to hunt down Lu Ming. They chased him into the core of the divine ruins and were killed by the headless true dragon rider. Therefore, this person was newly promoted. I don't think it's appropriate. At this moment, another voice sounded. Wang Sheng's gaze turned cold as he looked at the person and said, Ji Feng, what do you mean? Why is it inappropriate? I know that your daughter, Ji Hongchen, has some friendship with Lu Ming. Do you want to help him? Ji Feng, the clan leader of the Ji clan, Ji Hongchen's father. Ridiculous. Ji Feng glanced at Wang Sheng contemptuously and said, now that Long Chen is in the hands of our South Divine Palace, the other 3 divine palaces are already jealous. If we capture Lu Ming, what will the other 3 divine palaces do? Will they join forces to attack my Southern God Palace? At that time, how will my Southern God Palace resist? His words caused the hall to fall silent. After a while, another person said, that's right, I think Brother Ji's words make sense. We won't intervene in Lu Ming's matter for the time being. Lu Ming killed more than 20 sovereigns from the sea-suppressing marshal's residence. Are we just going to let it go? The clan leader of the Mu clan was unwilling. Lu Ming doesn't need us to do anything. If he falls into the hands of the other 3 divine palaces, he will definitely suffer a fate worse than death. Someone said. That's right, we just need to protect Long Chen. Moreover, 1 origin token is enough to enter the divine ruins. Indeed, let them fight for Lu Ming. Others also spoke. Wang Sheng and the clan leader of the Mu clan had no choice but to compromise. In the southern part of the divine ruins, in a wild mountain. This place was extremely hidden and filled with demonic qi. Unless it was an expert who cultivated the demonic path, very few people would come here. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing appeared here. Little Qing, during this period, you should cultivate here. Lu Ming said. Lu Ming, what are you trying to do? Don't even think about leaving me alone. Xian Yinqing pouted. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and said, Little Qing, don't worry, I'll be fine. After a while, I'll come and see you. Seeing that Xian Yinqing was still staring at him with wide eyes, Lu Ming continued, moreover, I have a main body and a second body. My main body and second body will act separately. Nothing will happen. Are you going to the divine palaces to inquire about Long Chen's whereabouts? Xian Yanqing was intelligent and immediately guessed Lu Ming's thoughts. Lu Ming nodded and said, "That's right, I plan to let the second body sneak into the divine palaces while the main body is outside to attract the attention of others." This was Lu Ming's plan. With the main body outside, he would attract the attention of those experts while the second body sneaked into the divine palaces and waited for an opportunity to rescue Long Chen. This operation was dangerous. Although he had the mountain river diagram and could bring Xian Yanqing along, Lu Ming could not guarantee that he would not be in danger. Chapter 1379. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing's eyes turned misty as she clenched her fists tightly. She knew that with her current combat strength, she wouldn't be able to help Lu Ming even if she followed Lu Ming. Instead, she would only distract Lu Ming. At this moment, she hated that her cultivation was too low and she couldn't share the burden with Lu Ming. She gritted her teeth. She had to work hard and keep up with Lu Ming's pace. In the future, she would be able to help Lu Ming. "Alright, I'll cultivate here. You must be careful," Xian Yanqing said in the end. "Don't worry, I'll be fine." Lu Ming stroked Xian Yanqing's soft black hair and gently tapped Xian Yanqing's red lips. Then, he drifted away. Looking at the direction where Lu Ming left, Xian Yanqing swore to herself that she would never become a burden to Lu Ming again. "First, I'll break through to the sovereign realm. Then, I'll break through to the sovereign realm." Xian Yanqing's eyes flashed with determination. She turned around and walked into the mountain that was filled with dense demonic qi. After Lu Ming left Xian Yanqing, he traveled thousands of miles in the blink of an eye. Half a day later, he had flown a great distance. At this moment, his second body stepped out from between his eyebrows and appeared in front of Lu Ming. Then, the second body's body started to change. Inscriptions appeared on his body and his aura started to change. After a while, the second body changed into a new set of clothes and became a completely different person. After disguising himself, the second body tore through the void and headed toward South Divine Palace. As for the main body, he found a place to cultivate in peace. His plan was simple. Just like what Xian Yanqing had said, the second body would sneak into South Divine Palace to gather information while the main body would cultivate outside. He would only appear occasionally to attract the attention of others. Currently, the main body was cultivating 3 types of skills. First, of course, was the embryonic form of domain. When the embryonic form of a domain was just condensed, it was very small. It needed to be constantly nurtured before it could slowly mature. When the embryonic form of a domain reached a limit, one could begin to break through to become a ruler. During this time, Lu Ming didn't stop nurturing his domain. He had made great progress, but he was still a distance away from the limit. The second thing to cultivate was the pure spirit body. Now, the pure spiritual body had reached the peak of 70% and would soon reach 80%. The third was to cultivate 5 types of concept martial skills. The 5 types of martial skills were all at the 5th level, but they were very close to the 6th level. Once he broke through to the 6th level, he would be able to cultivate the chaotic concept martial skill, the chaotic flipping sky seal. What Lu Ming was cultivating now should be called a primal chaos domain martial technique. The primal chaos flipping sky seal was very special. If it was cultivated in the state of mind, it would become a martial technique of the state of mind. Now that Lu Ming had comprehended the embryonic form of a domain, if he cultivated it now and combined it with the domain, it would become a domain martial technique with astonishing power. Lu Ming was looking forward to it. The main body cultivated quietly while the second body rushed to the Southern Divine Palace. Soon, the second body arrived at the Southern Divine Palace. After a few months, Lu Ming came to the Southern Divine Palace again. The last time he came, it was to participate in the selection of the Yuanlu Great Marshal's disciple. In the end, he was chased and escaped from the Southern Divine Palace. Lu Ming's thoughts were in a whirl as he walked toward the Southern Divine Palace. The Southern Divine Palace is recruiting inscribers. Not long after entering the Southern Divine Palace, Lu Ming heard this news. Recruiting inscribers? Lu Ming's eyes lit up. After asking around, he finally found out why. The Southern Divine Palace seemed to be guarding something. They were recruiting inscribers to inscribe large arrays and guard the large arrays to guard something. As for what it was exactly, there were different opinions and all kinds of guesses. Could it be that the Southern Divine Palace is guarding Longchen? Lu Ming guessed in his heart. The Chaos Origin token could allow one to enter the ruins of God safely. Everyone wanted it, and the other 3 divine palaces were also eyeing it. The Southern Divine Palace controlled Longchen, which was equivalent to controlling a Chaos Origin token. Naturally, they had to guard it strictly for fear that it would be taken away by the other 3 divine palaces. Therefore, it was reasonable for them to recruit inscribers and strengthen the guard. Whether it is or not, I'll go and take a look. Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he walked toward the recruitment site. After arriving at the recruitment site, Lu Ming found many people, all of whom were inscribers. The rewards given by the Southern Divine Palace this time were extremely generous, and it attracted many inscribers to sign up. However, many of them had depressed expressions. After asking around, Lu Ming knew why these people were depressed. It was because the inscribers recruited by the Southern Divine Palace were at least at the 8th level. An 8th level inscriber was equivalent to a spirit god realm martial artist. To become an inscriber, one's talent was very high. Therefore, there were relatively few people who cultivated the Tao of inscribing in this world. There were naturally far fewer inscribers than spirit god realm martial artists. Those depressed people had not reached the 8th level. Lu Ming walked forward and arrived at a counter. We're recruiting inscribers at the 8th level and above. Are you an 8th level inscriber? An old man in charge of recruitment looked at Lu Ming with a trace of disdain in his eyes. After Lu Ming changed his appearance was ordinary, but he was very young. How could he be an 8th level inscriber at such an age? The old man didn't really believe it. The Tao of inscribing was even more difficult to cultivate than the martial Tao. This old man was an exalt rank inscriber, and he'd spent a few hundred years to break through to the 8th level. But how old was Lu Ming? I'm an 8th level inscriber. Lu Ming smiled and didn't mind. Oh? You're an 8th level inscriber? Don't waste my time. Show me your spirit flame, said the old man. Lu Ming nodded, and the space between his brows emitted a silver glow. Powerful spirit energy suffused the area and drew the gazes of everyone. What a pure spirit energy! What a pure spirit flame! The old man in charge of recruitment gasped and looked at Lu Ming in shock. He felt that Lu Ming's spirit flame was extremely pure. If the spirit flame of an ordinary person was an ordinary person, then Lu Ming's spirit flame was an emperor. Yes, the old man felt that his spirit flame seemed to be under great pressure. Is this enough? Lu Ming muttered and put away his spirit flame. He used some method to conceal the color of his spirit flame, making it look like a silver spirit flame. Moreover, Lu Ming tried his best to suppress it and only revealed a little. The color could be changed and the quantity could be suppressed, but the essence of his spirit flame couldn't be changed. He was an emperor, and he had inherited the mantle of a heavenly profound saint. Every step was perfect, and his spirit flame was naturally pure and condensed to the extreme. It was far from what an ordinary person could compare to. Yes, it turns out that little brother is a genius in the Tao of inscribing. I misjudged you just now, The old man smiled awkwardly and registered Lu Ming's information. After that, he gave Lu Ming a jade token. Lu Ming held the jade token and waited at the side. A few hours later, the recruitment was over. A total of 7 8th level inscribers were recruited. Follow me to the place you are guarding. As for the reward, it will be paid every month. Southern Divine Palace will not miss a single origin stone. Chapter 1380. Deep inside the Southern God Palace stood a magnificent mountain that covered a vast area. The old man led them to the outskirts of the mountain. So many inscribers, such a huge formation. Upon arriving, Lu Ming scanned the surroundings and discovered that there were at least 100 inscribers around the mountain. Each of them was an 8th grade inscriber. The outskirts of the mountain were covered by a huge formation. Alright, this is where you will be guarding. There is a large formation here, and each of you will be a part of this large formation. You will need to constantly inject your mental strength to maintain the operation of the large formation. How is it? Simple, right? The old man said. The crowd nodded their heads. It was indeed simple, as they only needed to insert their spiritual energy to maintain the formation. However, I have to warn you that this is a forbidden area of the Southern God Palace. You should stay at the outskirts and don't wander around, especially deep inside the mountain. If you are discovered by the experts of the Southern God Palace, no one will be able to save you. The recruitment elder changed his tone and warned everyone. The others were startled and nodded their heads. However, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. He had a strong feeling that Long Chen was most likely imprisoned here. They were only in charge of the outskirts of the mountain. It was impossible for outsiders to be responsible for the inner parts of the mountain. The old man gave them a few more reminders and told them the areas they were responsible for, before he left. Lu Ming sat on a boulder with his legs crossed and carefully observed the surroundings with his spiritual energy. There were many experts around the mountain, thus Lu Ming did not dare to act recklessly. However, since Lu Ming had ignited 2 spirit lamps, and his control of his spiritual energy had reached the perfection realm, even a 3rd-layer martial dominator realm cultivator would not be able to detect his spiritual energy. Unless the person was a 4th-layer martial dominator realm expert. However, 4th-layer martial dominators were considered peak experts even in the Godly Ruins continent, thus there were not many of them. As his spiritual energy spread further, the outskirts of the mountain were soon covered by Lu Ming's spiritual energy. The outskirts of the mountain were protected by a huge formation with the functions of sensing, attacking, and defending. Once someone intruded into the formation, it would immediately alert the others, allowing them to attack at the same time. However, Lu Ming soon learned all the secrets of this grand formation. This formation was huge and required so many 8th-level inscriptionists to control it at the same time. Its power was shocking, but it also had many flaws. Lu Ming could casually find dozens of them. Of course, this was in Lu Ming's opinion. To other 8th-level inscriptionists, they would only feel that this grand formation was profound, grand, and unbelievably complicated. In the depths of the mountain, Lu Ming didn't use his psychic power to cover the area. He was afraid that there would be experts guarding the depths of the mountain. Soon, night fell. At this moment, Lu Ming moved. A figure that looked exactly like Lu Ming appeared where he had been standing. This figure had been created by Lu Ming's array formation, and his figure was heading towards the depths of the mountain. To Lu Ming, the outer array was like a flat road. It did not pose any obstruction. After passing through the array, Lu Ming arrived at the depths of the mountain. At this point, Lu Ming stopped. He raised his eyes and looked into the depths of the mountain. In his eyes, there seemed to be array formations rotating. What a wonderful array formation! Soon, everything in the depths of the mountain appeared before Lu Ming's eyes. At the bottom of the mountain, there was a cave. Clearly, there was another world in the mountain. And on the road leading to this cave, there was a grand formation inscribed. This kind of grand formation was extremely mysterious. It's actually the Chi Meridian Chain Grand Formation. After looking at it for a while, Lu Ming frowned. He felt that it was a little tricky. The Qi Meridian Chain Grand Formation was a pure sensing Grand Formation. It had no offensive or defensive power. It only had sensing ability. As long as others walked into the Qi Meridian Chain Grand Formation, the Grand Formation would send out an alarm. Of course, Lu Ming could easily break an ordinary sensing Grand Formation. However, the Qi Meridian Chain Grand Formation in front of him was difficult for even Lu Ming to break. Lu Ming could see that there were a total of 10 Grand Formations in front of him. They were interlocked, and each of these 10 Grand Formations was locked onto a kind of aura. 10 Grand Formations meant that there were 10 kinds of auras, which were also the auras of 10 people. If one wanted to break this kind of Grand Formation, they would not be able to sense it if they walked in. The only way was to use the auras of these 10 people to refine a token to break the formation. Only then could they quietly walk in. Otherwise, no matter how strong the formation was, if one walked in, the formation would sense it and send out an alarm. Obviously, if Long Chen was imprisoned in this mountain, as long as the alarm was sent out, the others in the mountain would move Long Chen away. Even if they forced their way in, they would not be able to save Long Chen. If one wanted to quietly enter the mountain, they had to break the Qi Meridian Chain Grand Formation. But how to break it? The key was that Lu Ming did not know whose auras this was. How could he get the auras of these 10 people? Lu Ming took a closer look before he retreated and returned to his original position. Southern Divine Palace really values the Chaos Yuan token. With such a tight defense, it will not be easy to save Long Chen. Lu Ming thought in his heart. If I want to break this Qi Meridian Chain Grand Formation and refine a token, I must have the auras of those 10 people. But which 10 people are they? I heard that Southern Divine Palace is dominated by the 10 great families. Could it be that the auras of those 10 people are the patriarchs of the 10 great families? Lu Ming guessed in his heart. This was the most likely possibility. But there was no guarantee. Lu Ming planned to find an opportunity to secretly investigate. For the next 7 days, Lu Ming thought about this plan, but to no avail. On the night of the 8th day, Lu Ming's expression suddenly changed. He saw a figure flickering in the mountain. It was extremely fast and there was no movement at all. Not even a shadow could be seen. Those 8th-level inscriptionists did not notice it. If not for Lu Ming's strong cultivation, it would have been difficult to discover it. This figure seemed to be very familiar with the outer array. It shuttled through the array and headed towards the inner part of the mountain. Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Then he moved and followed the figure into the mountain. After passing through the array, the figure stopped. This figure was wrapped in a black robe. Her appearance could not be seen clearly, but her figure was clearly a woman. Long Chen, I know that Southern Divine Palace has gone too far by treating you like this. Unfortunately, there is nothing I can do. The figure sighed softly. Her voice was very soft, but Lu Ming still heard it. This is Ji Hongchen. Lu Ming's eyes moved. This voice was clearly Ji Hongchen's voice. Lu Ming could not remember it wrongly. Ji Hongchen did not stay for long. He turned and left. Lu Ming followed behind Ji Hongchen. Should I ask Ji Hongchen for help? Lu Ming had many thoughts in his mind. Although Lu Ming and Ji Hongchen were not very close, Lu Ming still approved of Ji Hongchen's character. And from the looks of it, Ji Hongchen seemed to want to help Long Chen, but there was nothing he could do. Lu Ming pondered and followed Ji Hongchen out of the mountain. They went to other areas of Southern Divine Palace. Chapter 1381. Ji Hongchen scanned her surroundings and released her spiritual awareness. She seemed to have discovered that someone was following her. What a strong spiritual awareness. Is this a woman's sixth sense? Lu Ming laughed in his heart. Ji Hongchen didn't discover him. Perhaps it was her innate spiritual awareness that made her stop scolding him because she felt that someone was following her. However, Ji Hongchen didn't discover anyone when she scanned with her spiritual awareness. That's strange. Did I sense wrongly? Ji Hongchen muttered. She thought that she was hallucinating. Just as she was about to move forward, her pupils suddenly shrank and a trace of shock appeared in her eyes. That was because a young man had appeared in front of her without her noticing. He was looking at her with a faint smile. She was horrified and instinctively retreated. Who are you? Were you following me just now? Ji Hongchen scolded. Since Lu Ming was in disguise, Ji Hongchen naturally couldn't recognize Lu Ming. Miss Ji, how have you been? Do you still remember me? Lu Ming said. At the same time, his body began to transform into Lu Ming's original appearance. After some thought, Lu Ming decided to give it his all and come out to meet Ji Hongchen. Lu Ming indeed needed help. He knew that Ji Hongchen was one of the top 10 families in the Southern Divine Palace. She was the daughter of the Ji family's patriarch. If Ji Hongchen could help him, it would be much more convenient. Lu Ming, it's you? Ji Hongchen exclaimed softly after seeing Lu Ming's true appearance. She found it hard to believe. Now, all the experts in the world were looking for Lu Ming and wanted to capture him. However, Lu Ming actually came to the Southern Divine Palace. Who would have thought? I'm honored that Miss Ji still remembers me. Lu Ming smiled. Ji Hongchen removed the black mask on her head, revealing her beautiful face. She sized up Lu Ming and said, Lu Ming, you're really daring. You actually came to the Southern Divine Palace and even dared to appear in front of me. Aren't you afraid that I'll get someone to take you down? I believe that Miss Ji isn't that kind of person. Lu Ming smiled. Ripples appeared in Ji Hongchen's eyes as a faint smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Then, he rolled his eyes and said, Lu Ming, there must be something you want from me, right? That's right. Lu Ming needs Miss Ji's help with something. Lu Ming's expression turned solemn as he cupped his fists and said. Oh. Tell me, I may not be able to help you. Ji Hongchen said. Miss Ji, is Longchen imprisoned in that mountain? Lu Ming asked. That's right. Longchen is imprisoned inside. Lu Ming, you want to save Longchen, right? I advise you to give up. You won't be able to save him. The defense is too tight. Ji Hongchen sighed. Although the meridian chain formation is profound, it's not impossible to break. Lu Ming said. You know about the Qi meridian chain array? Ji Hongchen was shocked. Then, he said, since you know about the Qi meridian chain array, you should know how difficult it is to enter it. The auras of the 10 people in the Qi meridian chain array are the patriarchs of the 10 great clans of the Southern God Palace, right? Lu Ming continued to ask. That's right. Ji Hongchen did not hide anything and nodded. Therefore, Lu Ming has something that I need Miss Ji's help with. Lu Ming said. Don't tell me you want me to help you obtain the auras of the patriarchs of the 10 great clans? Ji Hongchen's beautiful eyes widened. That's right. With Miss Ji's identity, it shouldn't be too difficult. Lu Ming nodded and said. Aura. Once a person came into contact with something, they would leave their aura behind. For example, clothes that were worn, bowls and chopsticks that were used, or even human hair would leave their aura behind. As long as he could obtain these, it would be enough. The patriarchs of the 10 great clans of the Southern God Palace were all 4th-layer martial dominator realm experts. Ordinary people would not be able to obtain their auras, but Ji Hongchen was different. Her father was a patriarch of a clan. With her identity, it was possible for her to obtain the auras of the 10 great clans. Lu Ming, although I think it's unfair for the Southern God Palace to treat Longchen and you this way, it's not easy to save Longchen. Even if you have the auras of the 10 great clans, can you refine a formation-breaking badge? The method of refining a formation-breaking badge is top secret. Even I won't be able to obtain it. Ji Hongchen said. Don't worry, Miss Ji. As long as I have the auras of the 10 great clans, I'll be able to refine a formation-breaking badge. Lu Ming said confidently. Really? Ji Hongchen found it hard to believe. Could it be that apart from having a great martial skill talent, Lu Ming was also a powerful inscription master? From what she knew, even if he knew how to refine a formation-breaking badge, he would not be able to do it without the cultivation of a 9th-grade inscription master. Of course it's true. As soon as he finished speaking, a dazzling golden spiritual fire danced between Lu Ming's eyebrows. Ji Hongchen's beautiful eyes suddenly widened. Her mouth was slightly agape, and she was in disbelief. Lu Ming is really a 9th-grade inscription master? Does this mean that Lu Ming didn't use his full strength when the Yuanlu Great Sect was selecting their disciples? He was able to suppress everyone with his martial skill alone, and his path of inscription had reached the level of an emperor. What a monster! Ji Hongchen cried in her heart. Miss Ji, Lu Ming retracted his spiritual fire and called out to her a few times. Ji Hongchen finally recovered from her shock. Her beautiful eyes blinked as she stared at Lu Ming. Her stare made Lu Ming's hair stand on end. What a monster! Ji Hongchen muttered in the end, which made Lu Ming roll his eyes. All right, I promise you. I'll help you get the auras of the 10 great clans. Ji Hongchen nodded after thinking for a while. Lu Ming was overjoyed. He said, Miss Ji, Lu Ming has another question. Logically speaking, Longchen and I have been chosen by the Dragon God Valley and are disciples of the Dragon God Valley. Why would the Southern Divine Palace and the other 3 Divine Palaces be so bold to attack us? You don't seem to have any scruples at all. Lu Ming asked the biggest question in his heart. This question had been bothering Lu Ming for a long time. He and Longchen were disciples of the Dragon God Valley. The people of the Godly Ruins continent dared to do this to them. Weren't they afraid that the experts of the Dragon God Valley would come and kill them? It would make sense if they attacked secretly, but they were doing it openly now. Lu Ming, you don't know yet, right? A few months ago, the Heavenly Divine Sect sent news that the Dragon God Valley of the Yuanlu continent was destroyed. Ji Hongchen revealed a shocking piece of news. Destroyed? Lu Ming was dumbfounded. The Dragon God Valley of the Yuanlu continent was destroyed. In that case, everything made sense. If the Dragon God Valley was destroyed, the experts of the Godly Ruins continent wouldn't have any scruples. Lu Ming was also speechless. It wasn't easy for him to join a great sect in the Yuanlu continent, but it was destroyed before he could even join the sect. It seemed like the Yuanlu continent was more dangerous than the Godly Ruins continent. A great sect was destroyed just like that. Chapter 1382. Thank you, Miss Ji. After a while, Lu Ming took a deep breath to calm himself down and thanked Ji Hongchen. Today, she had solved many of Lu Ming's doubts. You're welcome. I'll leave first. I'll come find you when I find the auras of the 10 great clans patriarchs. Ji Hongchen said. Before she left, Ji Hongchen blinked and looked at Lu Ming. Do you really trust me? Aren't you afraid that I'll find an expert to take you down? If that's the case, the 2 origin tokens will be in our hands. Lu Ming smiled and said, didn't I just say it? I trust you, Miss Ji. Ji Hongchen cracked a smile and flew away. After Ji Hongchen left, Lu Ming changed his appearance again and returned to the outskirts of the mountain where he was supposed to guard. Unexpectedly, Ji Hongchen came to find Lu Ming the next night. Lu Ming, this is the teacup that my father drank from. I believe it'll be useful to you. Ji Hongchen handed a jade teacup to Lu Ming. Lu Ming received it happily and said, "Thank you, Miss Ji." Ji Hongchen smiled faintly, but didn't say anything else as he drifted away. Then, the detailed diagram of the Qi meridian chain formation appeared in Lu Ming's mind. During this period of time, he had already analyzed all the mysteries of the Qi meridian chain formation and imprinted them in his mind. Then, he took out a jade talisman and extracted the aura of the Ji clan from the teacup. He absorbed it into the jade talisman and started to inscribe inscriptions on it. 3 days later, the first formation-breaking token was successfully refined. As long as one held this token and entered the formation corresponding to the Ji clan patriarch, the formation would not send out an alarm. Unfortunately, the Qi meridian chain formation required 10 tokens. It would be useless if one was missing. A few days later, Ji Hongchen sent over the aura of the second patriarch. Lu Ming, some of the patriarchs are on good terms with my father, so it's easy for me to get them. However, some of the patriarchs are against my father, so it'll be troublesome. I'll need some time. This was what Ji Hongchen told Lu Ming before he left. Lu Ming could understand. After all, it was the aura of a fourth-layer martial dominator realm expert. It was not easy to acquire the aura of the 10 great clans of the Southern God Palace. Lu Ming could only refine the aura in his hand into a token. Other than guarding the formation, Lu Ming cultivated by himself and strengthened his spirit fire, so he didn't waste any time. Time passed day by day. In the outside world, apart from cultivating, Lu Ming's true body would occasionally appear to attract the attention of others. More and more experts joined the hunt for Lu Ming. In addition to the experts from the other 3 divine palaces, the experts from the other continents also came to the divine ruins. However, Lu Ming was proficient in illusionary aura techniques and could change his aura. Moreover, his battle prowess was formidable. Every time he appeared, he would easily escape after stirring up the situation. Just like that, 4 months passed in the blink of an eye. The 2-year agreement with the Yuanlu Great Sect was getting closer and closer. In the past 4 months, Lu Ming had refined 7 formation-breaking badges. Currently, Ji Hongchen's speed of acquiring aura was getting slower and slower. The time required was getting longer and longer. The remaining people were all enemies of the Ji clan, thus it was extremely difficult to acquire their auras. Night fell. Lu Ming sat cross-legged on a piece of green rock and closed his eyes to cultivate. Between heaven and earth, there were wisps of invisible power of inscription descending from the law of inscription and being absorbed by Lu Ming. In Lu Ming's sea of consciousness, the mental flame gradually grew stronger. Suddenly, Lu Ming opened his eyes and glanced ahead. Here they are again. Lu Ming mumbled. 2 black figures were traveling silently in the formation. Apart from Lu Ming, no one else noticed them. The 2 figures were not Ji Hongchen, but someone else. 2 months ago, these 2 figures had secretly come to observe the energy meridian chain formation in the mountain. Behind them, Lu Ming was secretly observing them and finally discovered them. The 2 people who were secretly observing them were actually experts from the Wang clan, one of the top 10 clans of the Southern Divine Palace. Lu Ming guessed that the Wang clan also wanted to refine the formation-breaking badges. Their goal was simple, to take Long Chen away and keep the Chaos Essence token for themselves. After a while, the 2 figures left. After the 2 figures left, another figure came. It was Ji Hongchen. This time, Ji Hongchen brought the 8th aura. Lu Ming, there are 2 more. Ji Hongchen's face was slightly haggard. It was obvious that she had put in a lot of effort to acquire the auras of the top 10 clans. Lu Ming was quite touched. After Ji Hongchen left, Lu Ming continued to refine the formation-breaking badges. In the blink of an eye, another month had passed. Ji Hongchen brought the 9th aura. It had been 5 months since Lu Ming entered the Southern Divine Palace. After receiving the auras, Lu Ming began to refine the formation-breaking badges. However, something unexpected took place that night. More than 10 figures were traveling in the darkness, heading deep into the mountain. Is that? Lu Ming was astounded. The dozen or so black shadows were all powerhouses. They were all rulers. One of them even possessed an immeasurable cultivation, a 4th-layer martial dominator realm expert. 4th-layer martial dominator realm cultivators are rare in the entire Southern Divine Palace. Could it be that the patriarch of the Wang clan is here in person? With so many experts from the Wang clan here, could it be that they have already refined 10 formation-breaking badges? Lu Ming made a guess secretly. Inscriptions appeared on his body and he restrained his aura to the extreme. With a sway of his figure, he silently followed behind the dozen figures. As they arrived before the Chain Chi formation, the strongest expert waved his hand and took out 10 jade badges. As expected, he had refined 10 formation-breaking badges, which was faster than Lu Ming. The 10 formation-breaking medallions emitted a layer of light that enveloped the 10 or so black figures. The 10 or so black figures charged into the chain meridian formation without causing any ripples. Not long after, more than a dozen black shadows rushed into the cave and disappeared. Lu Ming frowned. Now that the plan had changed beyond his expectations, he could only take one step at a time. Not long after, the figures reappeared in the cave, but this time, there was an extra person among them. Long Chen. At one glance, Lu Ming saw that one of the dozen people was Long Chen. Long Chen's face was slightly pale as he was being carried by one of the figures. It was obvious that Long Chen had suffered a lot during this period, but he was still determined. The figures carried Long Chen and swiftly passed through the formation, arriving at the outermost formation. As they were about to pass through the formation and escape. Bang! 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 Several powerful auras suddenly exploded in the air. There were more than 100 of them. Following this, more than 100 figures descended and surrounded the figures. Wang Sheng, you're trying to monopolize the chaotic badges. Do you think we don't know that you found someone to refine the formation-breaking badges? A white-haired old man snapped coldly. Ha ha ha. The one with the strongest aura among the figures burst out laughing as he unleashed his true force, shattering the black robe around him, revealing his true appearance. It was the patriarch of the Wang clan, Wang Sheng. Chapter 1383. It seemed that the other families of the South God Palace had known that Wang Sheng wanted to keep the Chaos Token for himself. They had deliberately let Wang Sheng and the others in so that they could catch them outside. Wang Sheng laughed as he looked around and said, "Keep it for yourself." Long Chen was captured by the Wang family. It was the experts of the Wang family who searched Long Chen's soul and found out about the use of the Chaos Token. It was you who joined forces to force me to hand over Long Chen so that we could take control of the Chaos Token together. Now, I'm just taking back what I deserve. Ridiculous, Wang Sheng. If we didn't take control of it together, do you think the Wang family alone could keep the Chaos Token? It would have been taken away by the other 3 divine palaces. One of the patriarchs shouted coldly. Ha ha ha. I'd rather have the Chaos Token fall into the hands of the other 3 divine palaces than share it with you. You cowards, so what if you have the Chaos Token? You can only seal it and don't dare to use it. What's the use of the Chaos Token to get treasures in the divine ruins? Wang Sheng sneered. Nonsense, it's not the right time yet. Wang Sheng, hand over Long Chen. Otherwise, the Wang family will be removed from the top 10 families today. A white-haired old man shouted coldly. His aura was extremely shocking and it pressed toward Wang Sheng. He was a peak 4th-layer martial royal realm expert. Boom! Boom! At the same time, the experts of the other families also burst out with powerful auras. Their auras merged and rushed toward Wang Sheng and the others like a storm. The dozen people of the Wang family were like a lonely boat in the waves, about to sink at any time. The commotion had naturally alarmed everyone. The inscriptionists guarding the periphery retreated far away and looked at all this in shock. Lu Ming was mixed in the crowd, waiting for an opportunity to make a move. At this moment, Lu Ming looked at the sky in the north. Over there, Lu Ming could sense a terrifying pressure. This pressure was coming at him at high speed. Rip! In the next moment, the space cracked and hundreds of figures stepped out of the crack. Each of them stood proudly in the sky and was a terrifying expert. Emperors, all of them were emperors. All of a sudden, over 100 rulers came. As soon as these sovereigns appeared, their auras burst out and pressed down on the people of Southern Divine Palace. Between heaven and earth, the auras clashed, and there was a sound like muffled thunder. North Divine Palace. Wang Sheng, you colluded with North Divine Palace. Suddenly, several angry roars erupted from the Southern Divine Palace. The experts who arrived later were all from Divine North Palace. Huh, what do you mean by collusion? This is cooperation. Wang Sheng laughed. He took Long Chen and was about to rush out of the encirclement and join the people of Divine Palace North. Don't even think about it. Leave Long Chen behind. The Wang clan must be destroyed. The experts of South God Palace were enraged. They attacked together and launched terrifying attacks at Wang Sheng. Kill. The strong cultivators of the North Divine Palace didn't waste any time and attacked the strong cultivators of the South Divine Palace. South Divine Palace could only send out strong cultivators to block North Divine Palace. At the scene, hundreds of experts were engaged in a chaotic battle. Boom! In a moment of carelessness, a strand of energy struck the mountain below. The mountain directly exploded and turned into ashes. Oh no, run, run. The inscriptionists and the nearby martial artists who were below the martial emperor realm fled frantically. The scene of hundreds of martial emperors fighting together was too terrifying. Throughout the Southern Divine Palace, dazzling lights lit up. Those were the inscriptions, forming inscription matrices. Swoosh! Swoosh! At the same time, people from all over South Divine Palace rushed to the battlefield. They were all martial emperors. After all, this was the territory of South Divine Palace. There were many experts who rushed over to join them. Slowly, South Divine Palace gained the upper hand. Although North Divine Palace was the strongest among the 4 Divine Palaces, they couldn't send out all their forces. Facing South Divine Palace's crazy counterattack, they began to lose. In the sky, there was a rain of blood and wind. Corpses kept falling from the sky. They were all martial emperors' corpses. Boom! Boom! Terrifying fluctuation spread out. It was a fight between level 4 martial emperors. It was extremely shocking. Wang Sheng, hand over Long Chen. A clan leader stared at Wang Sheng and fought with him. Ji Feng, you want to stop me? Get lost. Wang Sheng exploded, and his body was covered in holy light. A sword of holy light forced Ji Feng back. He took Long Chen and continued to attack, wanting to meet up with the people of Divine Palace North. However, Ji Feng and his people blocked Wang Sheng's path. The other clan leaders of South Divine Palace led their men and fought with the experts of North Divine Palace. You guys take Long Chen and rush out of South Divine Palace. I will stop them. Wang Sheng ordered his men. At the same time, holy light spread out from his body. It was extremely dazzling and turned into countless holy light swords. In an instant, more than a dozen experts, including Ji Feng, were enveloped. He wanted to use his strength alone to delay the opponent and let his men take Long Chen out of the encirclement. Among the 10 clan leaders of South Divine Palace, Wang Xing's combat strength was ranked in the top 3. Ji Feng roared and used all his strength. However, he couldn't break through Wang Xing's blockade. Wang Xing's men took Long Chen and were about to rush out. No one noticed that Long Chen's eyes were getting redder and redder. He looked ferocious. Roar! At that moment, Long Chen let out an angry roar. It didn't sound like a human's roar. It sounded more like an ancient giant beast that was awakening. An ancient dragon-esque elephant as big as a mountain appeared above Long Chen's head. It emitted a shocking aura. Long Chen broke free from the person who had grabbed him and turned into an ancient dragon-esque elephant. How did his cultivation recover? One of the emperors of the Wang family exclaimed. Long Chen's cultivation had originally been sealed. But now, how did it recover? They were stunned. The ancient dragon-esque elephant roared and an elephant leg that was like a pillar stepped on the body of a LV-1 martial royal realm expert. The ruler was caught off guard and let out a blood-curdling scream. His body was crushed, and his body and soul were destroyed. A LV-1 martial royal realm expert was killed in one move. In the distance, Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It seemed like Long Chen was mutating. Lu Ming saw clearly that Long Chen's cultivation should be at the 9th level of the spirit god realm. Although he had improved a lot since the selection, given Long Chen's combat ability, it was impossible for him to kill a martial artist at the 1st level of the martial emperor realm with one move. The reason might be that the ancient dragon-esque elephant's bloodline of Dragon City was in an abnormal state. Its strength had improved greatly. After killing a LV-1 martial royal realm expert, the ancient dragon-esque elephant knocked the other 2 emperors back and fled into the distance. Don't even think about leaving. A LV-3 martial royal realm expert of the Wang family threw a punch at the ancient dragon-esque elephant. Bang! The ancient dragon-esque elephant was knocked back and its body exploded. Humph, how dare you resist? I'll cripple your cultivation. As long as you're alive, you can still use the chaos token. Chapter 1384. The 3rd layer martial dominator of the Wang clan summoned a giant palm and threw it at Long Chen, trying to grab him. Keep Long Chen here. At that instant, a 3rd layer martial royal realm expert from another clan of the Southern God Palace arrived and grabbed at Long Chen too. The 2 giant palms grabbed Long Chen at the same time. Bang! The terrifying force landed on Long Chen's body. Although Long Chen's ancient dragon-esque elephant bloodline had improved his strength, it was still too far away from the 3rd layer martial royal realm. The ancient dragon-esque elephant let out a roar before it collapsed, revealing Long Chen's true form. At that moment, Long Chen was extremely weak. His eyes were filled with a strong unwillingness. He was a heaven's favorite of his generation, yet he ended up being manipulated by others. How could he accept this? In the distance, Lu Ming's eyes flickered as he tried to figure out a way to save Long Chen. In the end, Lu Ming shook his head and decided not to make his move. There were too many experts here. There were more than 10 4th-layer martial royal realm experts. If he were to make his move, even if he could take Long Chen by surprise, he would not be able to escape from the pursuit of more than 10 4th-layer martial royal realm experts. Not only would he fail to save Long Chen, he would also lose his life. Take Long Chen away. The other experts lunged at Long Chen. Most of them were from the Northern God Palace. Once they took Long Chen away, they would be able to escape. Don't even think about it. The experts of the Southern God Palace would not give up so easily. They too lunged at Long Chen. Long Chen was at the center of the storm, as if he would be torn apart by the storm at any time. Buzz! At that instant, a strange ripple was emitted from the sky. The ripple was not too strong, but as soon as it appeared, it covered the entire Southern God Palace. Then, a shocking scene occurred. The people of the Southern God Palace and the Northern God Palace who were engaged in a fierce battle, including the fourth-layer martial royal realm experts, were frozen in the air. Not only that, Lu Ming and the rest of the people of the Southern God Palace were frozen in place, unable to move. It was as if time had stopped at that instant. Lu Ming was incomparably shocked. He felt as if the space around him had solidified and wrapped around him, making it impossible for him to move. Even the spiritual flame in his sea of consciousness seemed to have solidified. The others were similar to Lu Ming. Their eyes were filled with fear and disbelief. Ha, I didn't expect that I would actually encounter such a good talent on this small desolate island. Loud laughter came from the sky. A tall and sturdy old man, as strong as an elephant, leisurely walked through the air and arrived before Long Chen. Xiao Chen's beady eyes sized up Long Chen. You've actually awakened the archaic dragon-esque elephant bloodline. You're suitable to be the successor of my divine elephant sect. What a waste of talent on this uncivilized island. The burly old man reached out and grabbed. A surge of energy entered Long Chen's body. In an instant, all of Long Chen's injuries healed. As for Long Chen, he had also regained his freedom. Long Chen was shocked as he looked at all the experts who were frozen in the air and could not move. His eyes were filled with shock. All of this was obviously the work of the burly old man. He did not see how the old man did it, but he had frozen so many experts in the air. Even the entire Southern Divine Palace was frozen in place. This kind of technique was simply unheard of. It was unbelievable. Kid, I'm the Supreme Elder of the Divine Elephant Sect in Yuan Continent. How about it? Take me as your master. Your bloodline can only be fully utilized in my Divine Elephant Sect. The burly old man said. Yuan Continent's Divine Elephant Sect? Long Chen was shocked. Without hesitation, he knelt down and said, Disciple Long Chen greets Master. This was obviously an invincible figure. If he did not take him as his master now, when would he? As for the Divine Dragon Valley, Long Chen had heard that it had been destroyed. Good. Get up. The burly old man was overjoyed. He looked up to the sky and laughed. His long beard fluttered. After a while, he said, Disciple, let's go. Follow me back to Yuan Continent. After saying that, without waiting for Long Chen's reply, he waved his hand and disappeared with Long Chen. As soon as the old man left, the pressure disappeared and everyone regained their ability to move. Whoosh! Whoosh! As soon as everyone regained their ability to move, Divine South Palace and Divine North Palace gathered together and looked at each other. Obviously, the burly old man was an almighty from Yuan Continent. His strength was unbelievably powerful. Moreover, their target, Long Chen, had been taken away by the old man and he had even taken him as his disciple. It could be said that their efforts were in vain. Since Long Chen was gone, there was no need for them to continue fighting. Wang Sheng, get lost to Divine North Palace. Someone shouted coldly. Wang Sheng's face turned ugly. This time, the one who had suffered the greatest loss was Wang Sheng and the Wang family. Now that the Wang family and Divine South Palace had fallen out, they could only move to Divine North Palace. Originally, if Divine North Palace could capture Long Chen and enter the Divine Ruins with the Chaos Token, the Wang family would have a share of the treasures and they could make up for it. But now, they had not captured Long Chen and had to move to Divine North Palace. That would be a great loss. After all, the Wang family had been in Divine South Palace for countless years and was one of the top 10 families. If they moved to Divine North Palace, they would not be able to enter the center of power of Divine North Palace. The loss of benefits was unimaginable. Wang Sheng was so depressed that he wanted to vomit blood. Lu Ming, you must capture that Lu Ming to make up for my loss. Wang Sheng's eyes flashed with a ferocious look. After that, the people of Divine North Palace left and the battle was over. In the crowd, Lu Ming retreated silently. This time, the matter was beyond his expectations. However, Long Chen was taken in as a disciple by the people of Yuanlu sect, which could be considered a great fortune. A day later, Lu Ming's second body reunited with his main body. Soon, the news that Long Chen had been taken in as a disciple by the Supreme Almighty of Yuanlu sect and had left the divine ruins had spread like wildfire. After Long Chen left, the remaining people naturally targeted Lu Ming. Now, only Lu Ming had the primordial chaos token. The four great divine palaces and the experts of other continents had joined the search for Lu Ming. All kinds of methods were used. Even though Lu Ming had the illusion technique, he was almost found out. Another time, Lu Ming appeared to attract the attention of others and was besieged by a group of experts. After a great battle, he managed to break out of the encirclement. In an area filled with demonic qi, Lu Ming appeared and reunited with Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming, in a few months' time, there will be powerful people from the major sects of Yuanlu coming to pick us up. Although the Divine Dragon Valley has been destroyed, you can come with me to the Tianyu Demon sect. I don't think the people from the continent of God will dare to do anything to you. Xian Yanqing suggested. Lu Ming shook his head and said, although this is the case, I can protect myself. After all, I haven't joined the major sects of Yuanlu. I don't have any deterrence to the people of the Divine Ruins continent. After I leave, some people might attack the Divine Wilderness continent. Lu Ming, what do you plan to do? Chapter 1385. Kill. A cold light flashed in Lu Ming's eyes. Kill, I can only kill. Before I leave, I will kill everyone until they are terrified. It would be best if I could kill all the martial emperors who are above rank 3 martial royal realm. Only then can the divine region be safe and I can go to Yuan continent with ease. The killing intent in Lu Ming's eyes became colder and colder. In the end, it was filled with madness. Kill. Lu Ming wanted to kill all the martial emperors above LV3 martial royal realm in the godly ruins. If anyone heard this, they would think that he was crazy. There were many experts in the godly ruins. There were many LV4 martial royal realm experts. With Lu Ming's cultivation, how could he kill them? Even Xian Yanqing was shocked by Lu Ming's words. Now, I am no match for a LV4 martial royal realm expert. Therefore, I need to cultivate in seclusion. When the time comes, I will refine my second body and set up a killing formation. I might have a chance. Lu Ming said. He decided to take the risk. With his current combat strength, even if his main body and second body worked together, they would not be a match for a LV4 martial royal realm expert. He needed to increase his strength. After cultivating for a while, his pure spiritual body had reached 90% completion. He was only a step away from reaching 100% completion. Once his pure spiritual body reached 100% completion, its power would increase. At the same time, Lu Ming's strongest killing move was the chaotic flipping sky seal. During this time, Lu Ming had cultivated the 5 wills martial skills to the 6th highest level. Now, Lu Ming had started to cultivate the chaotic flipping sky seal. Once he succeeded in cultivating the chaotic flipping sky seal, its power would be shocking. At that time, his second body would set up a killing formation in advance. He might be able to kill a LV4 martial royal realm expert. Xian Yanqing knew that Lu Ming was a decisive person. Since he had decided, he would do it. She did not say much. She decided to strengthen her cultivation and increase her strength so that she could help Lu Ming sooner. Now, there were only 4 months left before the 2-year agreement with the Yuanlu Great Sect. After that, Lu Ming's main body entered the mountain and river diagram. The mountain and river diagram was put away by Xian Yanqing, who then turned around and entered the place filled with demonic qi. As for Ming Lian's second body, he had left. In the days that followed, Ming Lian's second body would occasionally appear to attract the attention of others. However, as soon as he appeared, he would disappear without a trace. He would hide his identity and go to a secret place to inscribe inscriptions and great killing formations. His main body, on the other hand, had been bitterly cultivating. Time passed day by day. In the second month of his seclusion, Xian Yanqing made a breakthrough in his cultivation and reached the Supreme Being level. Not long after Xian Yanqing's breakthrough, Dandan and Bubble woke up one after another. Moreover, when Dandan and Bubbles woke up, their auras were extremely shocking. All of them possessed the aura of Monarch Realm experts. Lu Ming was overjoyed. Dandan and Bubble were the real top 10 battle beasts. Their combat strength was extremely terrifying. Although they had just broken through to the Emperor realm, their combat strength was unpredictable. When Dandan heard that a LV4 Martial Royal Realm expert was chasing after Lu Ming, it even said that it would kill him with one slap. It was extremely arrogant. Lu Ming didn't believe it. He fought with Dandan, but he found that he was no match for it at all. Lu Ming, let's see how you can be arrogant in front of me in the future. You'd better listen to me obediently in the future. Dandan was complacent. It put its front paws behind its back and showed off its arrogance. Bam! In the next moment, it was kicked by Bubble and rolled on the ground dozens of times. You, little one, how dare you attack me? Dandan's arrogance didn't last more than 3 seconds. It got up from the ground and glared at Bubble. Chirp chirp, Bubble stood on Lu Ming's shoulder and looked at Dandan with a pair of black eyes. The bubbles at the tip of its nose, one big and one small, seemed to be saying to Dandan, "Come and fight me if you dare." Dandan was furious, but Bubble was a time and space spirit mouse. It could control time and space. It couldn't do anything to Bubble. Chirp chirp, Bubble chirped and curled up its body, rolling up and down on Lu Ming's shoulder. Sigh, it seems that I should give all the spiritual medicines to Bubble in the future. It's so obedient. Lu Ming muttered. Dandan immediately stopped and said with a flattering smile, "Lu Ming, don't do that." No, I was just joking with you." Lu Ming ignored Dandan and looked into the distance. A wisp of killing intent flashed in his eyes. Then this time, let's play bigger. Dandan's combat strength was above his. It was definitely not weaker than a level 4 Martial Emperor. It might even be stronger. Coupled with the spacetime concept of bubbles, no, it should be said that it was the wonders of the spacetime domain. Lu Ming intended to go all out. After that, he continued to cultivate. Half a month before the arrival of the great emissary of the Yuanlu sect, Lu Ming finally mastered the chaotic sky-flipping seal. It's time to act. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold. Then, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing left the area and came to a vast lake. Previously, Ming Lian's second body had secretly carved a killing array near the lake. It had taken him several months to complete it. This killing array was passed down from a heavenly profound saint and its power was terrifying. Given Ming Lian's second body's cultivation, it had taken him several months to complete it. This showed how powerful it was. It's time to spread the news, Lu Ming said in a low voice. Then, Ming Lian's second body stepped into the air and left. Not long after, an explosive piece of news spread across the continent of God. Someone had found the place where Lu Ming had been cultivating in seclusion. Lu Ming had been cultivating in seclusion in that place all along. When the news came out, the continent of God was in an uproar. Let's go and capture Lu Ming. This time, we can't let him escape. Seal that place. Experts from the South Divine Palace, North Divine Palace, East Divine Palace, West Divine Palace, and the Blood Yang continent, which was ranked second and third. Countless experts gathered at the lake where Lu Ming was. Lu Ming, who was sitting cross-legged on the lake, suddenly opened his eyes. "Are they here?" Lu Ming's eyes flashed. Rip. Hiss. The surrounding space continued to crack open as one figure after another stepped out from the space. At the same time, terrifying auras spread out. Experts, all of them were experts. The weakest among them were martial emperors. There were more than 500 of them. That was a shocking number. There were more than 500 martial emperors. The 4 divine palaces had all come, along with some experts from other continents. Lu Ming was surrounded by people in all directions. The space seemed to have solidified. Lu Ming did not have the slightest chance to escape. "Lu Ming, where are you going?" Someone in the north spoke. It was Wang Sheng. "Who said I was going to run?" Lu Ming stood up and stood on the lake, looking around coldly. Most of the third-level martial emperors in the continent of God were here. "Not running anymore?" "Hee, it seems that you know you can't run away." Wang Sheng sneered. "Huh." Lu Ming sneered and ignored Wang Sheng. He swept his gaze across the crowd and said, "You're here for the primordial chaos token so that you can enter the ruins of God and obtain treasures." Chapter 1386. There are indeed countless treasures in the core of the ruins of God. Everyone's eyes lit up at Lu Ming's words. They were tempted. Among all the people here, only Lu Ming had entered the core of the ruins of God and only he had the right to speak. "The reason why my cultivation has progressed so quickly is because I obtained a supreme treasure in the core of the ruins of God." Lu Ming continued to speak, making everyone's hearts burn. Yes, Lu Ming was just a young man in the divine wilderness continent, but he was able to suppress all the heroes and stand at the peak of the younger generation in the divine wilderness continent. Now, he was even more shocking. He could kill martial emperors like cutting melons and vegetables. This was too unbelievable. Everyone attributed all of this to the core of the ruins of God. It must be, Lu Ming must have obtained a treasure in the core of the ruins of God to achieve such results. Chaos Origin Token. Everyone stared at Lu Ming, wishing they could eat Lu Ming. However, for a moment, no one made a move. There were so many people here, and the 4 divine palaces had gathered. Everyone wanted the Chaos Origin Token and they were all wary of each other. Who should I give the Chaos Origin Token to? How about this, I surrender and join one of your sides to help you enter the core of the ruins of God. Lu Ming's lips curled into a cold smile as he spoke. The eyes of the people of the 4 divine palaces lit up. However, immediately, everyone was on guard against each other. If Lu Ming really joined one of their sides, he would definitely be attacked by the other 3 sides. Don't fall into this kid's trap. He's instigating us to attack first. A loud shout rang out. Lu Ming looked over and found that the one who spoke was the Southern Divine Palace's sea-suppressing marshal, Hai Pengtian. Hai Pengtian looked at Lu Ming with resentment. That's right, he wants us to fight so that he can find a chance to escape. The others also spoke. These people were all old monsters who had lived for thousands or even tens of thousands of years. How could they not know what Lu Ming was thinking? I suggest that we take down Lu Ming first, cripple his cultivation, and then let the 4 celestial palaces jointly control him. In any case, there are ruins of God near the 4 celestial palaces. We can take turns using Lu Ming to explore the ruins of God. Wouldn't that work? Wang Sheng suggested. I think it's fine. I agree. The others also spoke one after another, reaching an agreement. Humph, Lu Ming, your little tricks are useless in front of us. You should just obediently surrender. This is your fate. Hai Pengtian sneered. Really? Lu Ming's expression remained calm even though his plan to sow discord had failed. He glanced at Hai Pengtian and said, "Then make a move. Come and take me." Hai Pengtian almost attacked when he saw Lu Ming's confident expression, but he withheld his urge in the nick of time. This kid is full of tricks, but he's still so calm. Perhaps there's a trap here. This kid has a clone that excels in the art of inscriptions. Perhaps he has set up a deadly formation here. Hai Pengtian calmed his thoughts and analyzed. That's right, we have to be careful. Another fourth-layer martial dominator realm expert said. What is it? You don't dare to attack. Such a piece of trash, as timid as a mouse. Lu Ming let out a hollow laugh. Hai Pengtian and the other authorities of the four celestial palaces wore unpleasant looks. They were afraid that Lu Ming had set up a deadly formation here. Lu Ming's strength was shocking, as he was able to kill a third-layer martial dominator realm cultivator. It was strange enough. They were afraid that Lu Ming had found some treasure from the core of the ruins of God and set it up in the formation, thus the first one to attack would be in danger. However, they could not attack together and kill Lu Ming. The Chaos Badge had merged with Lu Ming's body. Even if they killed Lu Ming, they would not be able to obtain the Chaos Badge. They could only defeat Lu Ming or cripple Lu Ming's cultivation. As such, they would have to be cautious when attacking. Still not attacking? Who cares if you're an overlord? You're all trash. Lu Ming was extremely scornful, showing no sign of being worried. This made the crowd even more certain that Lu Ming had set up a formation. We'll know if there's a formation here. One of the authorities said. In the godly ruins, only fourth-layer martial dominators were qualified to be considered as overlords. That's right, let's send someone to test it out. Another overlord-level character spoke. But who should they send? The eyes of the crowd flickered. No one was willing to test it out. If Lu Ming had set up a deadly formation here, it would be dangerous for anyone to test it out. This made the four divine palaces unwilling to send anyone to test it out. These people from the smaller continents have followed us here. They should at least do something, someone said slowly. The faces of the experts from the other continents changed drastically. Whoosh! Whoosh! In a flash, the overlords of the four divine palaces appeared beside the experts from the other continents. Their cold eyes sent chills down the spines of the experts from the other continents. What are you doing? Someone from the other continents shouted. What are we doing? If you want to fish in troubled waters, you should at least do something. Go and take down that kid. An overlord said coldly. You're too overbearing. Someone was unwilling to give up. Nonsense, go. If you don't, I'll destroy all of you, including your continents. The overlord scolded in an overbearing manner. In the end, apart from the second-ranked Blood Sun continent, the experts from the other continents had no choice but to step forward. There were dozens of them. They were all second-layer martial dominators and third-layer martial dominators. These people were forced to slowly approach Lu Ming. Lu Ming, surrender. A third-layer martial dominator scolded. Nonsense, if you want to do it, just do it. Stop wasting time. Lu Ming retorted. Let's do it together. Alright, let's do it together. In the end, dozens of second-layer and third-layer martial dominators rushed toward Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly shouted. The dragon roar came out of his body and the third bloodline appeared. The dragon vein sword appeared in his hand. He stepped forward and slashed out. Bang! Bang! The sword radiance destroyed all the attacks and killed the 3 LV2 martial royal realm experts. With a sweep of his leg, a third-level martial emperor expert trembled and was sent flying by Lu Ming. Kill! Lu Ming held the combat sword in his hand. It was as if he was in a no-man's land, killing unhindered. When the dragon vein sword slashed out, the LV-2 Martial Royal Realm cultivators could not withstand it at all. They were all killed in one strike. Only the LV-3 Martial Royal Realm cultivators could withstand a few strikes. Roar! Suddenly, the 9 dragons' bloodline appeared as Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons. The chaotic domain covered the area and the 9 dragons clawed at a third-layer martial dominator, tearing him apart. The others took deep breaths and backed away in fear. In just a few breaths' time, more than 10 of them had been killed by Lu Ming. They posed no threat to Lu Ming. This kid's strength has improved again. A thought crossed Hai Pengtian's mind. Chapter 1387. He discovered that Lu Ming's combat ability had improved as compared to the past. In fact, this was indeed the case. Now, Lu Ming's pure spirit body had been cultivated to perfection. Moreover, the embryonic form of the chaos domain was getting bigger and more mature. His main body's combat power had indeed improved greatly compared to before. Currently, the strength of Lu Ming's main body had reached its peak, a peak that was difficult to improve further. The rulers of the 4 great sacred palaces wore unpleasant looks on their faces. Sending these people was not enough to test Lu Ming's strength. They would have to send a 4th-layer martial dominator realm cultivator to test the waters. However, none of the 4th-layer martial dominators were willing to take the risk. "I'll do it," Hai Pengtian said after a while. The feud between him and Lu Ming was as deep as the sea. He could not wait to tear Lu Ming into pieces. Bang! Bang! Hai Pengtian stepped forward while unleashing his 4th-layer martial dominator realm aura. At the same time, a pair of golden wings appeared on his back, which emitted a sharp aura that tore the space apart. Hai Pengtian, very well, I'll send you to accompany your sons and second brother today. Lu Ming's voice could be heard from the 9 dragons. Son of a bitch, I'll cripple your cultivation first and make you suffer a fate worse than death. Hai Pengtian said as he flapped his wings, causing his figure to disappear as he charged at Lu Ming. Whoosh whoosh, the pair of golden wings slashed at the 9 dragons like 2 sharp blades. Whoosh! Lu Ming controlled the dragon vein sword with his spiritual sense and blocked one of the slashes. Meanwhile, the 9 dragons stepped forward and lashed out at the other slash. Clang! Bang! Following a few explosions, the 9 dragons' bodies shuddered violently as they were knocked backward. Die! Hai Pengtian uttered a cold roar as he continued to charge at Lu Ming. Several slashes were fired at Lu Ming. Lu Ming tried his best to defend himself, but he was still at a disadvantage. The 9 dragons' bodies were covered in cracks. A 4th-layer martial king was much stronger than a 3rd-layer martial king. Lu Ming was no match for him. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure rushed out from the 9 dragons. Inscribe the second body. Ming Lian's second body waved his hand, and 5 phoenix feather flying swords pierced through the void and shot towards Hai Pengtian. At the same time, the myriad formation illustration flew out, and an endless array enveloped Hai Pengtian. Clang! Clang! Hai Pengtian's golden wings flapped, knocking away the 5 phoenix feather flying swords and wiping out a large expanse of array formations. The 9 dragons roared, and together with Ming Lian's second body, they charged towards Hai Pengtian. The 2 of them began a great battle. For a moment, although Lu Ming was still at a disadvantage, the combination of his main body and second body was flawless, and he was able to barely resist. This Lu Ming is truly a genius. Even though they were enemies, an overlord couldn't help but sigh. That's right. I don't know what secret technique this fella cultivates, but his clone is actually a pure inscription master, and it's even a ruler. Unbelievable. Could it be a powerful puppet technique? The overlords began to discuss. With their knowledge, it was impossible for them to know anything about the twins' secret technique, thus they began to speculate. Since we've already offended him, we can't let him live. We must at least cripple his cultivation at any cost. Wang Sheng said. His heart turned cold. Lu Ming's talent was too terrifying. If Lu Ming managed to escape, he would become a nightmare for them in the future. The other overlords nodded their heads. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and Hai Pengtian had exchanged over 10 blows. How Pengtian, is that all you've got? How are you going to avenge your son? Lu Ming mocked Hai Pengtian in the midst of the battle. Damn it! Hai Pengtian let out a furious roar in his heart. He had already tried his best, but he still couldn't defeat Lu Ming. Although his cultivation was only at the early stage of the 4th layer martial dominator realm, and his strength was considered weak among the 4th layer martial dominators, it wasn't difficult for him to kill a 3rd layer martial dominator realm cultivator. However, he still couldn't defeat a young cultivator. His heart began to feel a little restless. Now's the time. Lu Ming's eyes flickered all of a sudden as the blood of the 9 dragons collapsed, revealing Lu Ming's true form. Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal. Lu Ming rapidly performed a hand seal with his hands. Bang! A giant seal was formed in the sky, which looked like the imperial seal used by the emperors of the mortal world. However, it was as large as a mountain and was covered in a chaotic glow. This was the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal. The Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal descended from the sky and suppressed Hai Pengtian. Hai Pengtian's expression changed greatly due to its terrifying power. Block it! Hai Pengtian uttered a roar as a pair of golden wings on his back flapped rapidly, forming a sharp aura that fired at the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal. Bang! Finally, the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal collided with Hai Pengtian's attack. At that instant, Hai Pengtian's expression changed tremendously. His attacks continued to explode and disappear. The Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal was like an ancient godly mountain that suppressed everything. Bang! In the end, Hai Pengtian's attack was shattered as the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal landed on Hai Pengtian's body. Hai Pengtian's body shuddered violently as he let out a cry of agony and fell to the ground, spitting out blood from his mouth. Hai Pengtian was no match for the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal and was severely injured. Kill! At that instant, Ming Lian's second body took the opportunity to attack Hai Pengtian. The 10,000 formation illustration covered Hai Pengtian's figure while 5 phoenix feather flying swords pierced Hai Pengtian's vital points. Hai Pengtian tried his best to defend himself, but as he had just been struck by the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal, his aura had yet to recover. His body was in great pain as if it were being torn apart, thus he could not exert any of his strength. He tried his best to defend himself, but his body was still penetrated by 2 phoenix feather flying swords, which almost slashed his body into pieces. Break! In the end, a blinding golden light burst out as one of Hai Pengtian's wings exploded into pieces, forming a terrifying storm that tore apart the seal of Ming Lian's second body. Hai Pengtian flew toward the crowd of the southern god's palace and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood with a pale face. The crowd inhaled deeply. A 4th layer martial dominator had almost been killed by Lu Ming. It was too shocking. What a pity! Lu Ming let out a sigh. His strength was still lacking after all. Even with the Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal, he had still failed to kill Hai Pengtian. If Hai Pengtian was more cautious next time, it would be more difficult to kill him. His strength was still lacking compared to the 4th layer martial dominator realm. The consumption of true qi is terrifying. Lu Ming exclaimed. A huge pile of origin stones appeared. Lu Ming unleashed the 9 dragons' bloodline to devour the origin stones and refine them. The Chaotic Sky Flipping Seal had consumed almost 50% of Lu Ming's true qi. In other words, with Lu Ming's true qi, he could only execute 2 chaotic sky-flipping seals before his true chi was depleted. What should we do now? One of the Dominator Realm cultivators asked. Even Hai Pengtian had failed to find out if Lu Ming had set up a deadly formation. What should they do next? Let's send a few more people to find out. Chapter 1388. That's right, I suggest that each of the 4 great celestial palaces send a 4th-layer martial Dominator Realm expert to join forces with each other. This way, we'll be able to probe this kid's strength. If he doesn't set up a deadly formation here, we'll be able to take him down. A white-haired elder from the North Divine Palace said. He was the palace master of the North Divine Palace. His cultivation had reached the peak of the LV4 Martial Royal Realm. Okay, let's do that. The others nodded in agreement. Next, it was time to choose the candidates. Soon, each of the 4 divine palaces chose a LV4 Martial Royal Realm expert. Wang Sheng had just surrendered to the North Divine Palace, so his position was the lowest. Needless to say, the North Divine Palace asked him to fight, which made his face pale. Boom! 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 In 4 different directions, the 4 overlords charged toward Lu Ming like 4 heavenly deities. Lu Ming, no matter what tricks you have up your sleeves, today's result has been decided. Wang Sheng sneered. Step by step, his aura became stronger and stronger. His whole body was covered by milky white holy light. He was the strongest among the 4. He was originally one of the 10 family patriarchs of the South Divine Palace. Moreover, he was ranked in the top 3. His cultivation had almost reached the peak of the LV4 Martial Royal Realm. Lu Ming's main body and second body stood together. The prototype of the chaotic realm covered his body to resist the pressure from the outside world. Boom! Under the pressure of the 4 experts, the lake water below surged. The water within 100,000 miles of the lake evaporated, revealing the dry bottom of the lake. Attack! Suddenly, Wang Sheng roared and took the initiative to attack. The other 3 experts also charged toward Lu Ming. Bubble! At this moment, Lu Ming shouted softly. Then, Bubble appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. It chirped and waved its little paw forward. A transparent bubble suddenly appeared on Wang Sheng and the other 3 experts and enveloped them. The 4 of them were fixed in the air, unable to move. The 4 experts were sealed in the bubbles and their eyes were filled with horror. Kill! Lu Ming's main body wielded the dragon vein sword and charged towards one of them. The battle sword slashed out, and the person was cut into 2 halves. The spiritual deity was also crushed by the sword chi. A 4th-layer martial dominator was killed just like that. How could this be? Everyone was stunned. They did not understand what was going on. As for Lu Ming, he charged towards the second person. Puchi. Blood splattered everywhere. The second overlord was killed by Lu Ming. Then, Lu Ming charged toward the third person, Wang Sheng. Ah, what's going on? Break for me, break for me. Wang Sheng roared crazily and used all his strength to blast open the transparent bubble. Just as Lu Ming was about to reach him, he finally broke the transparent bubble. But what made him despair was that as soon as he broke this transparent bubble, another transparent bubble appeared out of nowhere and enveloped him. This transparent bubble appeared without any warning, without any fluctuations. There was no way to avoid it. No, no, don't, Wang Sheng let out a furious roar in his heart as he struggled desperately. However, Lu Ming had already arrived. Whoosh! The sword slashed down and split Wang Sheng in half, destroying his body and soul. After killing Wang Sheng, Lu Ming charged toward the 4th person without hesitation. What's going on? That's the space-time domain, it's the space-time domain. It's the pet, it's the pet. He's a monster, a monster. Let's attack together and kill him. I'd rather not have the Chaos Badge. Lu Ming had killed 3 overlords in a row, causing the experts of the 4 directions godly palaces to lose their minds. Lu Ming was too dangerous. If they did not kill him today, they would be the ones to die in the future. Attack, everyone attack. Kill. Over 100 experts of the 4 directions godly palaces made their moves at that instant. Hundreds of attacks gathered together and fired at Lu Ming. The attacks were too terrifying, causing the heavens and earth to tremble. Lu Ming's pupils shrank rapidly. There was no doubt that if he was hit, Lu Ming would definitely be turned into ashes. There was no chance of him surviving. Chirp chirp, Bubble's body glowed as it grabbed at the void with its little claws. A space-time passage appeared and Lu Ming rushed into it without hesitation. Boom! As soon as Lu Ming rushed into the space-time passage, the attack landed on the ground. Down below, the lake that was hundreds of thousands of miles wide was instantly destroyed. Rumble. The ground within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles shook violently. Countless huge cracks covered the entire ground like a spider web. At the center of the attack, a huge hole with a radius of tens of thousands of miles appeared. It was unfathomable. Boom! The next moment, fiery red magma rushed out of the huge hole and rose thousands of miles into the sky. There was no doubt that the ground had been penetrated. It was as if doomsday had arrived and countless creatures had died. Tens of thousands of miles away, the space fluctuated and Lu Ming's figure appeared. Lu Ming is not dead. He's over there. Kill him. Whoosh! 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 When the experts saw Lu Ming, they immediately charged at him. Beams of dazzling light streaked across the sky and charged at Lu Ming. If you want to kill, I'll kill to my heart's content today. The power of the air-frozen bead flowed into Lu Ming's body. Lu Ming performed the wind origin skill and his body swayed rapidly. He dodged the attacks and charged into the crowd. Chirp chirp, Bubble cried. The first to bear the brunt was a 4th-layer martial royal realm expert. He was trapped in the transparent bubble and could not move at all. Puff! Lu Ming rushed over and killed the man. Puff! Puff! Then, Lu Ming rushed over and killed a few martial royal realm experts. Lu Ming was bathed in martial royal realm blood and looked like an invincible god of death. Help each other. Whoever is trapped by the bubble, help each other. Someone shouted. Then, when someone was trapped by the bubble, the other experts quickly came to Lu Ming's rescue. His trick is useless. Kill. Lu Ming must die today. The crowd yelled and charged at Lu Ming from all directions. It's my turn. Dandan appeared and flew out. Suddenly, a gigantic turtle shell appeared in the air. Many attacks landed on the turtle shell, but they were all blocked by the turtle shell. Whoosh! Whoosh! Bubble opened its mouth and spat out a few rays of light. These rays of light were like wind blades, but many times stronger than wind blades. They were formed by space and time. Puff! A 4th-layer martial royal realm expert was killed by the rays of light. I'll do it. Dandan let out a roar as her body expanded rapidly. With a single slap, she slapped a 4th-layer martial dominator realm expert to death. After Dandan and Bubble had reached the martial royal realm, they had displayed terrifying strength. They could even kill a 4th-layer martial royal realm expert. This sent chills down the spines of the surrounding experts. Chapter 1389. Nestle, there are too many of them. Dandan killed another 2 third-layer martial royal realm experts before returning to Lu Ming's shoulder. Chirp chirp, Bubble appeared silently on Lu Ming's other shoulder. Let's go. Lu Ming executed the wind origin technique and turned around to leave. Kill. Don't let him escape. The experts at the scene were already in a frenzy and they charged toward Lu Ming. Hundreds of rainbow-colored rays pierced through the sky and engulfed Lu Ming. At the crucial moment, Bubble opened a spatial tunnel and Lu Ming dashed into it and appeared 10,000 li away, dodging the attack. Don't stop, continue to pursue him. No matter how powerful his pet is, it won't be able to use that move continuously. It will exhaust its energy. He won't be able to escape. Some of the Overlord Realm experts urged the crowd to attack Lu Ming. Today, they had to kill Lu Ming. Otherwise, if Lu Ming were to escape, they would not be able to gather together every day. They would have to split up. Once they split up, it would be more dangerous for them to face Lu Ming's attacks. Therefore, they had to eliminate the source of the trouble. They chased after Lu Ming with all their might. Lu Ming flew forward rapidly. After flying for 1,000,000 li, Lu Ming suddenly came to a stop and turned around to look at the experts behind him. A cold grin appeared on his face. Seeing the experts approaching him, Ming Lian's second body appeared. The wolf flame on his forehead flickered as he yelled, "Rise!" Buzz! Buzz! Countless inscriptions appeared in the void as a huge array appeared in the sky. The formation covered an area with a circumference of 30,000 li, encapsulating everyone within it. This was Lu Ming's killing move. Lu Ming's ultimate killing array was not engraved at the lake. Instead, it was here. The lake was just bait. Even he was bait. He had long known that the experts of the 4 cardinal celestial palaces would not be fooled so easily. Everything that had happened before was for this moment, to lure these people here. Oh no, we've been tricked. There's a killing array here. Get out of here. Someone shouted. It's too late. God-slaying sword formation, kill. Ming Lian's second body roared. Countless rays of sword light appeared in the ultimate kill formation. Each ray of sword light emitted a terrifying aura. This was something Ming Lian's second body spent several months to lay down. Its power was terrifyingly great. Whoosh! 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 Sword chi swept across the sky, slashing down. Puff! Puff! Poof! First layer martial emperors, second layer martial emperors, and third layer martial emperors had no chance against it. Their bodies and souls were instantly destroyed. Only those in the fourth layer of the martial emperor realm could resist it. In just a few minutes, there were only a few dozen fourth layer martial emperors left in the sky. These people were practically the pinnacle experts of the continent of God. However, these experts were also bitterly holding on. Ah! Lu Ming saw Hai Pengtian's heart being pierced by thousands of swords and he died on the spot. He was already injured and was the first to die. After Hai Pengtian died, some of the weaker overlords were also killed one by one. The number of people was decreasing. Lu Ming, let us go. I'm willing to join you. I'm willing too. Spare us, some people shouted and begged for mercy. All of you should die. I'd rather believe in the dead. Lu Ming said coldly. The ultimate kill formation was activated and countless sword lights shot out. One after another, people were killed. These were the overlords of the continent of God. However, their lives were worthless and they died on this piece of land. A few minutes later, there were only 5 or 6 people left in the sky. These people were the pinnacle experts of the continent of God. Each of them was only a step away from the 5th layer martial emperor realm. They tried their best to break out of the ultimate kill formation, but the ultimate kill formation covered an area of 30,000 miles. Lu Ming, you'll die a horrible death. The last few people started cursing when they couldn't beg for mercy. Puff. Puff. However, in the end, they were all exhausted and killed in the ultimate kill formation. This time, more than 500 martial emperors had come to kill Lu Ming. However, they were all killed by Lu Ming. This had never happened before in the continent of God. After killing the last person, Lu Ming relaxed. He let out a long breath and was about to put away the ultimate kill formation storage ring. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly felt a sense of crisis in his heart. This sense of crisis made Lu Ming's hair stand on end and he felt a chill in his heart. Whoosh! At that moment, a terrifying attack came from behind Lu Ming and attacked Lu Ming. Fast. It was too fast. It was so fast that Lu Ming could barely react. Almost subconsciously and instinctively, Ming Lian's second body moved and blocked Lu Ming's back. Puff! It was a beam of sword light that pierced through Ming Lian's second body's chest. The terrifying sword chi suddenly exploded, and half of Ming Lian's second body exploded. Even half of his head was blown off. Bang! Ming Lian's second body flew far away and his breath was extremely weak. The second body was in mortal danger. The main body trembled and spat out a mouthful of blood. However, this delay also bought Lu Ming some time. The energy of the air-frozen bead flowed into Lu Ming's body. He used the wind origin skill and retreated quickly like a phantom. As soon as Lu Ming retreated, the sword light that attacked him advanced and attacked Lu Ming at an extremely fast speed. It was a sword light with a shocking sharpness that could kill everything. Lu Ming had never seen such a sharp sword. At that moment, Dandan and Bubbles also reacted. A tortoise shell blocked in front of Lu Ming. A cracking sound was heard. The tortoise shell blocked some of the sword light but was still pierced by the sword light. At that moment, Bubbles opened up a void passage. Lu Ming's body disappeared into the void passage and appeared tens of thousands of miles away. He finally survived the fatal blow. Swoosh! The sword light flashed and a middle-aged man appeared in the void. It's you? Seeing this person, Lu Ming's pupils contracted. This middle-aged man was the middle-aged man from the Celestial sect. Back then, he had chased after Lu Ming with the head of the Mu family and young Master Lin. Later on, he was injured by the headless true dragon rider at the core of the ruins of God and had to retreat miserably. Lu Ming originally thought that the other party had returned to the Yuan continent. He didn't expect that not only did the other party not return to the Yuan continent, but he was also lying in ambush. When Lu Ming was at his most relaxed, the other party launched a fatal blow at Lu Ming. If it wasn't for the second body blocking the blow, Lu Ming would have been dead. However, there was something wrong with the other party's condition. His body was surrounded by a black mist. It was like a poisonous snake that wrapped around the body of the Celestial sect's man. It made him look extremely ferocious and his aura was unstable. It's equivalent to a rank 6 martial royal realm. Lu Ming estimated in his heart. The other party's cultivation should have been above rank 7 martial royal realm. However, because of the poisonous snake-like mist, his cultivation had dropped to rank 6 martial royal realm. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.